Chapter 205. Pressure, Motivation. The Heart of Challenge. Lin Feng was impressed by Li Jisheng's ability to obtain the lightning pearl from a group of demons. The difficulty of obtaining the lightning pearl was 1,000 times more difficult than his. Luck was infinitely compressed. He could only rely on his ability. With Li Jisheng as his target, Lin Feng finally displayed the titanium-grade body for the first time in reality. That feeling was like waiting until the clouds parted to see the moon. It was extremely comfortable. He can even gain the upper hand in a battle with the Justice Marshal. Li Jisheng is really strong. Lin Feng was impressed. The twin stars of Huaxia, a true genius. He was the same as himself. They were both 18 years old. January 15th. Ling has also broken through to the martial venerable level. Lin Feng was gratified. Ling Soul of the Earth talent was indeed not very good. Han Fei, the savage intermediate elite recommended by Yi Fan, only needed 1 drop of Earth Purple Dew to successfully awaken the Soul of the Earth. But Ling used 2 drops of Earth Purple Dew to awaken it. 2 drops of Earth Purple Dew had awakened 0% of the Soul of the Earth. However, an inch short was an inch long. Ling talent was quite strong. She had such strength at the age of 16, it was already very impressive. Maybe when Ling is 18 years old, her strength will be better than mine. Lin Feng smiled. His eyes lit up. Bang! Lin Feng's body suddenly exploded. His muscles expanded and his strength surged, emitting a faint white light. Lin Feng clenched his fists. Thick titanium power condensed. His expression was calm. The first level of the titanium-grade body is no longer a problem. It's time for the second stage of cultivation. Cultivate the second level of the titanium-grade body? Lin Feng was not confident even if he had 2 more months, let alone half a month. He had set the goal long ago. There were 2 goals. One was to learn the first level of the titanium-grade body. The other was the Soul of the Earth. The motorized corridor stopped. Lin Feng leaped down and raised his head to look ahead. It was a huge pyramid that was 100 meters tall, shining with a golden luster. It was a magnificent sight. Looking at this huge building, it was as if he had arrived at a boundless desert. In the ancient country of Egypt, the pyramids were as continuous as mountains, containing astonishing energy. A man-made pyramid. Lin Feng walked over. He was secretly surprised. The Elemental Commerce Alliance was truly impressive. They had actually managed to create an artificial pyramid that mimicked the sacred relic pyramid. In the West Lake world, there is a man-made wilderness. There is a man-made pyramid here. Lin Feng smiled. Previously, he had asked Alliance leader Su Shang. This man-made pyramid was much more advanced than the pyramid structure of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, but it was still a distance away from the small pyramids of Egypt, let alone the pyramid of the sacred remains. It was purely a high imitation. Even so, this place is also a rare holy land for cultivation. Identity confirmed. Lin Feng entered. One layer after another. Unlike what he had imagined, Lin Feng seemed to have walked into a labyrinth. Spiral after spiral, the bottom could not be seen. The top of the pyramid was only the surface layer. The real position was downward. Energy gathered from the top of the pyramid through the energy beam. It reached the real bottom of the pyramid. The air has become thinner, Lin Feng muttered. He had thought that even if the man-made pyramid was different from the underground structure of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, the difference would not be too big. But the actual situation, it was beyond his expectations. More advanced elemental technology. The first level is already comparable to the second underground level of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. Here, the energy concentration is at least 3 times higher. Lin Feng activated his spiritual force. The rotation of the talent soul in his sea of consciousness was like a heart supplying nutrients to his body. The oxygen was getting less and less, and even the water in the air was being sucked dry. Spiritual force protected his whole body. Lin Feng continued to walk down the stairs. The third level. Lin Feng caught a glimpse of two figures. One was standing, clenching his fists, and his veins were exposed. He had an unyielding short black hair and a long scar at the corner of his left eye. Like him, he had awakened his talent soul. He could clearly feel the majestic spiritual force. He seemed to be in pain, but he was stubbornly holding on. The other person was sitting cross-legged. Pure tungsten power flashed outside his body. He was cultivating calmly. It was Yi Fan. He should be Han Fei. Lin Feng instantly judged. He had seen his photo before. Other than the scientists, only the Chamber of Commerce could enter the central city. He had never seen this black-haired young man before. He must be the one who had been recommended by Yi Fan to enter the central city to cultivate. Han Fei. Compared to him, Han Fei's spiritual force was purer and stronger. I'm afraid it's close to the fifth stage, Lin Feng thought. He did not stay and continued to walk to the fourth level. Extremely strong pressure, extremely thin air. The lower he went, the stronger the energy of the planet. Although there was still a fifth level, Lin Feng did not go deeper. He could not bear the intensity of cultivation. It was like pulling up seedlings to help them grow. The fourth level's energy intensity is 3 times higher than the third level. 30 times in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. If he cultivated here, even if he only used the 9 dragons scripture, he would be able to become a sea king within a year. The energy was abnormally strong. Lin Feng closed his eyes. The energy of the planet surged into his body. It was as if he had returned to the energy space in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum to cultivate, but it was completely different. The energy intensity of the planet here was far higher than that of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. He closed his eyes. His talent soul and earth soul were extremely excited and absorbed quickly. His body was also strengthened. His mind expanse had opened up an unknown territory. Lin Feng took out a slender spiritual object that was shaped like a ginseng. It contained a strong power of thunder and lightning, giving people a strong feeling. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. It was a high-grade heavenly material, the crouching eagle thunder web tendon. It was a 1,000-meter crouching eagle tree. The power of thunder was condensed and tempered, increasing the absolute power. Only a sea king could absorb it. Lin Feng did not hesitate and swallowed it. He could only use the crouching eagle thunder web tendon to maximize its effect. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes widened. A wild power entered the meridians of his arms like 2 dragons. Qi. The surging power of thunder and lightning gathered the violent energy. Lin Feng clenched his fists. His veins bulged and his muscles twitched. The thunder-like energy tempered the muscles and meridians in his arms. Some of the hidden factors in his cells were stimulated. His hands did not seem to belong to him. 10 minutes, half an hour, a full 2 hours passed. The pain gradually subsided. Lin Feng's face was pale. The sweat on his body had been sucked dry. His breathing was rapid, but his arms had changed drastically. They were like steel that had been tempered thousands of times. They were condensed with a strong, explosive power. Boom! Lin Feng punched out fiercely. The space shook violently. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His heart was shocked. This is? Chapter 206. Thunder and Lightning. It was very subtle, but it was the real power of thunder and lightning. It was very similar to the power of thunder and lightning contained in the Thunder and Lightning Pearl. It was strange. The strength of the energy was naturally far inferior, but the form was very similar. Bang! Lin Feng instantly threw out another punch. The powerful force was also mixed with the power of thunder and lightning, causing Lin Feng's heart to beat wildly. It was real. From the introduction of the crouching eagle thunder vein, it is reasonable to say that it is just a simple increase in strength, without the power of thunder and lightning. Lin Feng thought to himself. Obviously, there was a strange change in his body. But no matter what, it was a real increase in strength. It is most likely because of the 3 thunderbolts. Lin Feng instantly judged. He had always felt that his cells seemed to contain the power of thunder and lightning. He thought it was an illusion, but it was not. This is an unexpected gain. My strength has also increased by about 30%. Lin Feng smiled. His face was pale, his heart was beating fast, and there was a trace of excitement. This was an increase in combat strength. After a short rest, soon Lin Feng took out a magnificent Ganoderma lucidum. It was colorful, as beautiful as a painting, and it emitted a shocking amount of energy. The heaven-grade treasure was only a hair's breadth away from a sage-grade treasure. Lin Feng smelled the fragrance of the earth 5-color Ganoderma lucidum. He immediately ate it, closed his eyes, and sat cross-legged. The energy of the planet flowed into his body. Lin Feng's eyes were clear. The earth 5-color Ganoderma lucidum turned into rays of colorful light and entered his dantian, being absorbed by the earth's soul. A strange change instantly occurred. The surface of the earth's soul was originally golden, but now there were rays of colorful light like rainbows. Even the 12 golden threads had a spiral pattern of 5 colors. Beautiful, magnificent. Of course, it was not just the color change. Hiss, hiss, the absorption of spiritual energy was like a torrential river, continuous and endless. Lin Feng was shocked. It was originally a small stream, but now the amount of spiritual energy it absorbed increased by more than 10 times. The multicolored light emitted a dazzling light, and the soul of the earth seemed to have taken a stimulant, crazily absorbing it. His innate talent soul was completely inferior. 10 times. Efficiency. Lin Feng did not hesitate. Calming his mind, he activated the 5th layer of the 9 Dragons scripture and entered the state of cultivation. Although he still had many earth treasures that could strengthen the spirit of the earth, he still had many earth treasures with him. However, compared to the heaven treasure level earth 5 colors Ganoderma, it was not worth mentioning at all. This was a true treasure of heaven and earth. He cultivated like crazy. Lin Feng's strength increased rapidly. Brain expanse, soul of the earth, and soul of the innate talent. Compared to the pyramid in the imperial mausoleum of the Qin Emperor, the ever-changing technology of the Elemental Merchant Alliance was stronger and weaker. The artificial pyramid was built by the Elemental Merchant Alliance at a cost of 10 billion yuan and 10 years. It was quite powerful. For a Sea King rank powerhouse, their cultivation speed might be mediocre. But to a savage-level expert right now it was like sitting on a rocket. In particular, Lin Feng had the help of the 5 colors Ganoderma lucidum, not counting the soul of the innate talent and spiritual energy. Just the cultivation of the soul of the earth alone allowed Lin Feng's strength to increase again and again. 10 times the cultivation speed in less than 5 days. Lin Feng crossed the intermediate savage level. At this time, the radiance of the 5 colors Ganoderma lucidum had only dimmed by a third. Time. He quietly crossed the 6th of January. Lin Feng did not pay attention to the birth of the 8th lightning ball. He completely entered a state of seclusion, grasping the remaining enhancement effect of the 5 colors Ganoderma lucidum. From 10 times the cultivation speed to 8 times, 5 times, 3 times, now there was less than 2 times left. However, Lin Feng had made full use of every minute and second, until, the last ray of light flashed, and the multicolored lines disappeared. The stimulating effect of the soul of the earth returned to its original state. The original golden and transparent cocoon had already expanded by many times, and its proportion exceeded 9% of the dantian's size. This meant that the 4th stage of cultivation was 90% completed. There was no time for cultivation. On the night of the 31st of January, Lin Feng returned home. Spending the last night of the year with his mother and sister, his tense body slightly relaxed. Although he could not go to the floating elemental island to visit Ling Er, he could see Ling Er's sweet and happy smile from the microvideo projection. No matter how far away they were, their hearts were still tightly connected. Ali, Tao Jing, Yu Jie, Photon Ko, Sister Bing, Lin Feng contacted everyone. No matter what his current status was, in Lin Feng's heart, he was still his former self. Feelings were never forgotten. The Jiaoyang Battle Plaza should be very lively now. Lin Feng smiled. Yes, I really want to go and count down together. Yu held her chin with her hand, her eyes full of longing. Lin Feng stood on the open-air balcony. Looking into the distance, Elemental City was very calm as ever. A peaceful life without worries. There were few emotions in Elemental City, and there were urgent needs because everything here did not require money. It was like a paradise. Most of the time, after gaining something, one would lose something else. Actually, I don't like such peaceful days, Lin Feng said softly. Of course. Yu chuckled and said, You are the same as Big Brother. Dad's blood flows in your body. As long as you live, you will never stop challenging. Lin Feng smiled. However, there was a different emotion in his smile. Big Brother. Wait a little longer. Soon, I will save you. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a bright light. On the crystal watch, 10 years had passed, and he had officially entered the 103rd year of the war martial era. Last year, he was about to graduate from the Jiaoyang District's Elementary Genetic Academy. He carried the title of a 10th grade genius and was trapped in the mystery of his mind expanse regression. Now, Lin Feng knew everything. Back then, when he crossed the critical line, his spirit of earth and spirit of innate talent awakened at the same time. The huge pressure crushed him, and he could not bear it. When he crossed the critical line and awakened either the spirit of earth or spirit of innate talent, his body was already at its limit. When the two awakened at the same time, it was like a scale. The left side was his body, and the right side had the spirit of earth. They were equal, but there was an additional spirit of innate talent. Bang! After that, the spirit of earth and spirit of innate talent competed, causing his mind expanse to continue declining. It was only when the spirit of innate talent fainted that the spirit of earth took over. The stronger the spirit of innate talent, the earlier the spirit of innate talent was awakened. Big Brother, look! There are shooting stars. Yu was overjoyed. She hugged her fists and closed her eyes to make a wish. Lin Feng smiled. In the sky, the shooting stars were shining brightly. One after another, they were as beautiful as fireworks. Looking at the shooting stars, Lin Feng was surprised. More and more shooting stars streaked across the sky, gradually lighting up the darkness. At this moment, the sirens in Elemental City rang. Sizzle! Sizzle! Tibetan-grade radiance appeared. Hua, a heavenly net appeared, covering the sky of Elemental City in an instant. Tibetan-grade defense, Tibetan-grade Skynet. Chapter 207. The meteor fireworks lit up the night sky. But what accompanied the meteor was an astonishingly huge group of meteorites. Boom! Boom! Lin Feng hugged his trembling sister tightly and looked up at the sky. Hundreds of meteorites of all sizes streaked across the sky. The ear-piercing sound was accompanied by a heavy pressure that was deafening. The originally beautiful scene turned into a nightmare in an instant. It was frightening. Pung! The explosion roared. The violent earthquake shook the entire Elemental City. The originally quiet Elemental City became extremely noisy and panicked. The arrival of the natural disaster shook the earth and the sky. Brother! Yu was scared. Don't worry, it's okay. Lin Feng pressed his sister's small head against his chest and hugged her small body tightly. His lips were tightly pursed. Ling Er's figure appeared in his heart. He was worried about her. He didn't know how she was now. Did the floating elemental island also have a disaster? At this moment, boom! An extreme pressure came. Lin Feng raised his head and opened his eyes wide. In the sky, the 1-inch light spot fell at an astonishing speed. It kept getting bigger and bigger, highlighting the rugged surface and black molten shell. It appeared without any warning, bringing destruction and disaster with it. Looking at the huge meteorite falling from the sky, Lin Feng's veins bulged. Pop, pop. His muscles bulged, and a violent force emerged. Titanium-grade body. The black dragon saber in his hand was full of fighting spirit. Lin Feng's eyes were firm and free. Purring! The terrifying impact directly hit the titanium-grade Skynet. The semicircular titanium-grade Skynet emitted a strong magnetic sound and flickered violently. The titanium-grade light dimmed. It changed rapidly. Everyone in Elemental City looked at the sky in horror. They saw the huge meteorite shatter into pieces and slide down from the titanium-grade Skynet. It was blocked. The SSS-grade super defense could block the titanium-grade Skynet of a Destiny-level monster and block the power of the meteorite. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His body surged. The titanium-grade light emerged with a tyrannical power. In that moment, he had made all the preparations to fight against the huge meteorite. In the past, this was something unimaginable, but now, I can. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. The impact of the meteorite just now. It was roughly equivalent to an all-out attack from a high-level Sea King. He was confident that he could shatter it. The phenomenon lasted for a full 5 minutes. However, the unforgettable memories that came with it could not be erased even after 5 months. On this night, everyone who witnessed the meteorite falling from the sky would find it hard to sleep. Emergency S-level meeting. Level 1 disaster-grade meteorite. Suku activated his superbrain. A video projection appeared. Yifan, Yanqing, Gu Demo, and Xia Rufeng were all present as they stared at the screen with furrowed brows. Lin Feng's eyes were like torches. The projection showed hundreds of light spots, densely concentrated in the southeastern region of Huaxia. In other words, at the location of Elemental City. The area was very large, but fortunately, other than Elemental City, this area was completely barren. A coincidence? Yanqing asked. I don't know for now. Suku's expression was solemn. But this is the history of the war era. The first disaster-level meteorite. Lin Feng nodded. Meteorites from outer space were terrifying. The destructive power of meteorites was divided into normal, disaster level, annihilation level, and extinction level. Among them, disaster-level meteorites reached SS level. That was the power of a Sea King attack. Level 1 did not refer to the power. It referred to the number of meteorites and the area they covered. I hope it's not a sign. Gu Demo sighed. It shouldn't be. Xia Rufeng shook his head. It's only been 102 years since the 6th extinction. How can it be a sign? Normal meteorites falling from the sky often appear. It happens once in a while, and it's only level 1. It should be a coincidence. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. Extinction. There had been 6 extinctions on Earth so far. The temperature dropped sharply, and volcanoes erupted. These were all recorded extinctions. The 5th extinction of the dinosaur era had been confirmed. An asteroid with a diameter of 9 kilometers from the asteroid belt broke off its orbit for unknown reasons and crashed into Earth. The violent impact destroyed everything within a radius of tens of kilometers, causing a large-scale tsunami. Not only that, the huge vibration caused by the impact cracked the Earth's crust and triggered volcanic activity. 10,000 years later, the rising temperature caused the polar glaciers to melt rapidly. 100,000 years later, due to the heat from the volcanoes, the Earth's temperature dropped sharply. 180,000 years later, a huge crack appeared in the Pacific Ocean's crust and magma gushed out, the butterfly effect. The culprit was that asteroid, the extinction-level meteorite. The 6th extinction was even more cruel than the 5th. Rounds of super meteorite bombardment covered the 7 continents and 4 corners of the oceans, destroying almost everything. In terms of power, it was even more powerful than the 5th extinction. The difference was, humans were much smarter than dinosaurs. Even so, meteorites had left an indelible shadow in the hearts of humans. A sign of the 7th extinction? Lin Feng agreed with Alliance leader Xia's words. It had only been 102 years. There was no reason for meteorites to fall again. Let's wait and see. Su Ke nodded. Suddenly, he smiled. No matter what, maybe we can profit from this disaster and have a great harvest. Everyone smiled. Meteorites hid a huge amount of energy. They came from outer space, from the universe. Although the 6th Great Extinction had caused great damage to mankind and Earth, it had also changed the ecological environment of Earth. Once again, it was filled with spirit chi and entered a new era. There were many elements, metals, and other substances that Earth did not have in the meteorite. For example, the most important element technology in the man-made pyramid came from a huge meteorite during the 6th extinction. The scientists of the Elemental Commerce Alliance were full of enthusiasm. Meteorites were transported back to Elemental City. The entire central city was in full swing. The scientists were very curious and explored unknown substances. Lin Feng was relieved. Although it was a false alarm, it left a deep impression in his heart. The huge meteorite that hit the titanium-level Skynet was still deeply imprinted in his mind. In fact, the disaster was not irreversible. Humans can beat the heavens. I'm not afraid of a disaster-level meteorite now. An annihilation-level, a legend-level expert can take it head-on. Even if it's an annihilation level, if human strength can break through the legend level one day, we can still survive. Click. The motorized corridor stopped. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He entered the man-made pyramid again. The gears of time came to the 103rd year of the War Martial Era. It was January 8th. There were only 7 days left. The 4th stage of the Earth Soul, the last 10%. Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the 4th level of the pyramid. The rolling planet energy entered his body. Lin Feng was full of fighting spirit. The final sprint. Chapter 208. Middle-grade Earth Treasure, True Extreme Thunderous Water. High-grade Earth Treasure, Purple Hero 6 Rin Sprout Crystal. Supreme-grade Earth Treasure, Red Refinement Saltpeter. Bitter. After chewing for a while, Lin Feng swallowed another Earth Treasure. 20 million gold coins vanished in the blink of an eye. The powerful Earth Treasure merged with Lin Feng's body. In a split second, the soul of the Earth was burning inside his body. Lin Feng activated the 5th level of the Scripture of 9 Dragons. The scorching energy absorbed the energy extremely quickly, and his cultivation speed increased instantly. In just 6 days. To Lin Feng, it was like a 100-meter sprint. He was rich and willful. In 6 days, he swallowed more than 10 Earth Treasures to supplement his cultivation. Although it didn't have a miraculous effect like the Earth Pentacolored Spirit, it still allowed Lin Feng's cultivation speed to increase steadily. Although his mind expanse was still a distance away from 50%, the soul of the Earth was close to saturation. The golden cocoon. In his dantian, it was swelling and shining with golden light. It was about to transform. The 2nd stalk. The 3rd stalk. It continuously catalyzed and absorbed. As one Earth Treasure after another entered his stomach, coupled with the crazy stimulation of the planet's energy, Lin Feng finally reached his limit. He reached his limit. Whoosh, the golden cocoon shone brightly in an instant. Like a silkworm breaking out of its cocoon, the golden light illuminated its entire body and penetrated in all directions. As the cocoon burst open, the energy aura turned into thin lines that resembled meridians, connecting the entire dantian. The original 12 golden lines split into 2, then from 2 to 4, extending like branches and dividing cells. 24 lines, 36 lines, hiss, hiss. Powerful spiritual energy spread from the thin golden lines to the meridians all over his body. It nourished his body, strengthened his cells, meridians, and bones. Even his brain had wisps of cool energy flowing in, opening up new territory and expanding his mind expanse. It was like watering a dried-up paddy field. Lin Feng had been waiting for this moment for a long time. With a natural breakthrough, the soul of the earth officially entered the 5th stage. His body was also strengthened to another level. This seclusion was perfect. Soul of the earth, 5th stage. Titanium grade body, 1st stage. True strength level. Savage intermediate. My body is almost done absorbing. On the 7th day, Lin Feng did not continue to cultivate. Instead, he chose to hone his saber skills. He practiced the flaming saber technique over and over again with high technology. Level 5 Saber Technique. Lin Feng had already mastered the first 3 moves of the flaming saber technique. The only thing he lacked was a single point. It was a perfect entry point. As for the 4th and 5th moves, he had just entered the proficient level. It was still too early for him to fully comprehend them. Lightning Flint. Accumulating firewood to build a fire. Flaming Tree Silver Flower. 24 hours of saber practice. To Lin Feng, he needed to have perfect control over his strength. His body needed time to adapt to the sudden increase in strength, and he also needed time to absorb the 5th stage of spirit qi infusion. In addition, he had not practiced with the saber for more than a month. Lin Feng felt that his sense of the saber had become rusty. I can still feel the saber. It's just that I'm still unable to control my power too precisely. Erupt with a titanium-grade body. Based on my physical fitness and strength alone, I should be close to the limit of a Sea King. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. His strongest point was his strength. His current physical strength could reach a high-level Sea King after erupting with a titanium-grade body. His strength was already the strongest. With the enhancement of the Crouching Eagle Thunder Network and the power of thunder and lightning, his attack power was definitely one of the best among the Sea Kings. The only thing he lacked was speed. However, with the spirit qi to control the flying sword, it could make up for it. Before leaving, find a good flying sword. Lin Feng left the neo-martial arts space. He was still using Jian Chao's flying sword. It was definitely the best in the Yi family, but in the Elemental Business Alliance, it was better than this. Too much. Problems that could be solved with money were not problems. Supplement it with the best saber, Geno armor, and boots. Match it with the best flying sword. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He was confident that he could compete with other Sea King-level powerhouses. He was now a completely different person from a month ago. On the night of January 7th, all the Business Alliance leaders gathered together. The matter of Brahmin Manla. It did not arouse the suspicion of the Brahmin sect. Suku's eyes were shining. Everyone was relieved. Lin Feng nodded. In the past month, the elites of the Business Alliance had been living in seclusion. Plus, it was normal for the Sea Kings to be in seclusion for a year or so. Manla's sudden disappearance did not arouse suspicion. Even so, this was still good news. Although the time bomb was still buried, if it exploded a little later, he would have more bargaining chips and strength. For example, now the Business Alliance had been well prepared. Manla is really unlucky. Island Master Jiang squinted his eyes and smiled. Now that he is dead, our merchant union is instantly revived. 3 merchant union chiefs in a month. That's great. Everyone laughed heartily. On January 3rd, when Han Fei was about to use up the energy of the Thunderball, he luckily broke through the limit and became the Business Alliance leader. Han Fei, thank you, Alliance leader Lin Shang. With black hair and black eyes, Han Fei was usually frivolous, but he clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. He stood up and bowed deeply to Lin Feng. If it wasn't for Lin Feng's lightning pearl, if it wasn't for Lin Feng and Yi Fan's support, it would absolutely be impossible for him to have his current accomplishments. Brother Han, you're too kind. Lin Feng smiled. With 3 business alliance leaders, the Elemental Business Alliance instantly rose from the bottom among the 5 giants of ancient Huaxia. 3rd place. This treasure hunt will definitely surprise the other forces. Yi Fan's eyes were shining. Lin Feng was also more confident. Yi Fan's strength was already comparable to a beginner Sea King when he was at the advanced level of the Savage Land. Han Fei's talent spirit had reached the 5th stage, which was rare among the Sea Kings. Together with him, it's time for the Business Alliance to regain its reputation. Lin Feng smiled. Well said. That's right. This time, we must trample Dragon Killing Island. Everyone had been waiting for too long. In the Genetic Technology Building. Sorry, Brother Lin. Han Fei's eyes were shining. We don't know much about Brother Lin's strength, and so do you. Yi Fan smiled. If we want to fight side by side, we must at least know each other's strength. Only then can we work together. Actual combat is the best way to understand each other. Let's begin. Lin Feng nodded and smiled. Then, he walked to one of the doors in the battle arena and entered the virtual arena. The strong had their own pride. Yi Fan and Han Fei both had outstanding aptitudes and talents. The logic between the strong was very simple. They spoke with their fists. Half an hour later. Brother Lin, you're amazing. Yi Fan smiled bitterly. 2 against 1, and 3 against 3. Han Fei was a little dumbfounded. He and Yi Fan's cooperation was very good, and they complemented each other very well. However, in front of Lin Feng, they were defeated 3 times in a row and suffered a crushing defeat. Lin Feng smiled. There was no need to say too much. Brother Yi, Brother Han, let's set off at 6 tomorrow morning. Lin Feng looked at the 2 of them. Sure. No problem. Yi Fan and Han Fei nodded in agreement. Although the 2 of them were older than Lin Feng was their leader. They were convinced by the previous battle. See you tomorrow. Lin Feng nodded and left. Lin Feng clenched his fists. After more than a month of hard work, he had become stronger. He was no longer the same as before. Second update to be continued. Chapter 209. January 8. At the border of Mount Hua and Mount Zhongnan, the military, the first bank of Huaxia, and the Dragon Killing Island were at the top. Even though Li Jixing had appeared out of nowhere and seized the 7th lightning pearl, the military still had a deep foundation. After seizing the 5th and 6th lightning pearls, a new marshal was born before the 8th lightning pearl appeared. The military had 4 marshals. They had as many Sea King-level overlords as the true martial dojo. With the help of the Taichi dojo and the Liu's and Zhu families, 7 Sea King-level overlords overpowered the first bank of Huaxia and the Dragon Killing Island to take the 8th Thunderbolt Pearl. However, the Dragon Killing Island and the first bank of Huaxia were not on good terms and fought for themselves. Now, the 9th Thunderbolt Pearl, the military was undoubtedly the most popular. At the temporary encampment of the Dragon Killing Island. Damn it! Zikui's eyes glinted and his voice was sharp. His slender fingers moved and 10 clear claw marks could be seen on the bronze armrest. As the young master of the Dragon Killing Island and one of the twin stars of Huaxia, Zikui was undoubtedly one of the most powerful Sea King-level overlords. However, he was defeated again and again. He couldn't defeat the military or Li Jixing. Not to mention his luck, 4 Thunderbolt Pearls faced each other in a row. He failed every time. Demonic Lord, Clan Leader Chao, let's not gather again this time, Zikui said. The Demonic Lord's greenish-brown skin looked demonic. He was the clan leader of the Sky Devil sect, one of the 4 dojos and a mid-level Sea King-level overlord. Xiang Shao was a middle-aged man with great experience. He was the clan leader of the Xiang clan, one of the 8 families and a mid-level Sea King-level overlord. The 3 of them were on the same side. They were even more powerful than the first bank of Huaxia. Take 3 points and form a triangle. We'll fight for ourselves, Xiang Shao said seriously. That's right. They've even used some bullsh *T combination attack strategy, but they still lost miserably. The demonic lord snorted and said, Why don't we try our luck and see which side has the weakest defense? The other Sea King level overlords will stop us. Chao Zhenwei frowned. He was the only Sea King level overlord left. He had Yi Sun, Chunyu Jun, and other high-level savage overlords around him. Okay. Zikui's voice was soft needles. The one who gets it gets half. The rest will be 1/6 each, the demon lord coldly said. Xiang Shao nodded. Yi Sun gritted his teeth and silently admitted that he was unlucky. With his status, he could go to the first bank of Huaxia and the dragon-killing island. However, he felt that Li Jixing did not have a strong desire to win and the dragon-killing island was indeed more powerful. Therefore, he joined the dragon-killing island. Who would have thought that Li Jixing would get the 7th Thunderbolt Pearl? He regretted it so much. It's all because of that damned Lin Feng. Yi Sun got angry just thinking about it. His son had been killed, Jian Chou had been killed, and the first lightning pearl was supposed to be his alone. At this moment, most likely, he had already become a Sea King level powerhouse. However, it was ruined by a kid who hadn't even grown his hair yet. Merchant Alliance leader. How did he become the head of the Merchant Alliance? Yi Sun still couldn't figure it out. He glared angrily. Is there no one else in the Elemental Merchant Alliance that they pushed a little guy to the peak? Perhaps he was trying to profit from the situation. It's all for the lightning pearl in Lin Feng's hands. Both sides are mutually beneficial. Let him have some fun for a while. When the fight for the holy treasure is over, we'll borrow the power of the dragon-killing island to get rid of this thorn in our side. Yi Sun's face was cold. Lin Feng probably didn't expect that he would be used by the Elemental Merchant Alliance. The dragon-killing island didn't want to offend the Brahmin sect, so they didn't kill Brahmin Manla. However, they killed a powerless little guy like him. I believe young Island Master Zikue will be happy to do so. Swoosh. Red lightning flashed. A Sea King level fighter jet cut across the sky and landed. That's fast. Lin Feng jumped down from the fighter jet and exclaimed. This Sea King level fighter jet, Red Lightning, was specially made for him by the Elemental Merchant Alliance. The material alone cost more than 1 billion gold coins. Although it was not the most expensive fighter jet, it was one of the fastest. It's my first time riding it too. Yi Fan also jumped down. Behind him, Han Fei appeared like a phantom. The three of them had arrived. Swoosh. Lin Feng put away Red Lightning. Looking at the mountains and valleys around him, his heart instantly opened and his blood boiled. He was back. Brother Lin, are we going to fight for the 9th Thunder Pearl? Han Fei asked. Yi Fan was also eager to fight. He had been holding back for a long time after becoming a Sea King level overlord. No. Lin Feng traveled in the mountains and looked around calmly. The military, the dragon-killing island, and the First Bank of China. The three forces have gathered together, the 3 dojos, and the 8 families have become 3 giants. We are going to fight for, our chances are slim. Yi Fan was slightly disappointed. Although he already knew the result, he still wanted to fight because he had a warlike blood flowing in his body. Lin Feng looked at Yi Fan's expression and smiled. Brother Yi, don't be disappointed. Although we're not fighting for the Thunder Pearl, it doesn't mean we don't have to fight. Yi Fan and Han Fei were stunned. You should know what it's like to fight for the Thunder Pearl, Lin Feng said slowly. Yi Fan and Han Fei's eyes flashed and the scene appeared in front of them. The Sea King level overlords were fighting with all their might and the other overlords were blocking the other overlords. Blood flowed like a river and chaos ensued. They had fought with Brahmin Manla before. Heavy casualties. Yi Fan nodded. He vaguely understood. A fisherman? Han Fei smiled slyly. Lin Feng smiled and said, Fishermen who don't take advantage of others aren't good fishermen. Since we're here, we can't go back empty-handed. Lin Feng landed on a tall mountain. He could already see a large number of experts in the distance. The atmosphere was fiery. Let's take advantage of this chaos to weaken the enemy's power. Lin Feng was full of viciousness. Yi Fan and Han Fei looked at each other with a playful smile. The dragon-killing island doesn't know that we already have 3 Sea Kings. Han Fei chuckled. The previous 2 alliance masters of the Merchant Alliance were killed by Dragon Slaughter Island. Yi Fan's eyes were cold. The Elemental Business Alliance seems to be peaceful, but the dragon-killing island is focused on the Thunder Pearl. Once the fight for the sacred treasure is over, the competition will start again. Lin Feng nodded. He would not let go of the dragon-killing island no matter what. Instead of being controlled by others, it's better to strike first. Lin Feng took out 3 human-skinned masks and tossed them to Yi Fan and Han Fei. It's not easy to kill a savage-level overlord from the dragon-killing island. But now we can kill so many of them. Since we're going to fight, Brother Yi, Brother Han, don't show any mercy. Lin Feng looked back and smiled. Haha, of course not. Yi Fan and Han Fei laughed. Chapter 210. At the intersection of Taibai Mountain and Zhongnan Mountain, hundreds of savage-level elites had gathered. It was a hubbub of voices, an unprecedented scene. It was rare to see so many savage-level elites gathered in one place. Most of them were from the military, Dragon-Killing Island, and China's First Bank. Nearly half of the 3 magnates were at the savage level, and it was clear to see. There were 11 Sea King elite. The continuous battles would definitely result in casualties, especially for the military that had obtained the 3 lightning pearls. Of the 7 Sea Kings, only 4 were left. When they were fighting for the 8th Thunder Pearl, Zikuei had severely injured 2 of them, including Martial Tai Jun. Dragon-Killing Island had 4 Sea King-level martial artists who had preserved their strength the best. China's First Bank only had 3, making it the weakest. Swoosh! Lin Feng and Yi Fan exchanged glances before the 2 of them instantly separated. The scientists had already calculated where the 9th Thunder Pearl would appear. The area was only a few thousand square meters. The 11 Sea King elites were in the center, constantly changing their positions to confuse their opponents and look for a good opportunity. Go away! He shouted with an unfriendly face. Lin Feng frowned. It was a man less than 6 feet tall. His cold eyes flashed, and the Geno armor on his chest had the symbol of Dragon-Killing Island. The short man held the samurai sword in his hand, murderous as he mumbled in an unknown language. Lin Feng did not say anything. He took a few steps back and left. There are very few independent elites. Lin Feng was at the outermost circle. He could clearly see that almost 10 out of 10 savage-level elites had symbols on them. They were either from the 8 big families or the 3 dojos. Most of them were from the 3 military leaders. Lin Feng understood what was going on. Apart from the 3 military leaders, there were no other forces fighting for the Thunder Pearl. As for the other forces, they had already been excluded. 1 circle inside, 1 circle outside. The positions of the various forces were changing. They are scattered. Without making a sound, Lin Feng circled around the outermost area in a short while. According to the intelligence, the main combatants of the Dragon-Killing Island are Zikuei, the demonic monarch, and Xiang Shao. To them, it is the best plan. The Dragon-Killing Island had a terrible reputation. The military and the First Bank of Huaxia would not fight to the death. However, when it came to Dragon Murder Island, he wasn't polite at all. Even the Heavenly Devil sect, one of the 3 major dojo, and the Xiang clan, one of the 8 great clans, had bad reputations. It could be said that they were jackals of the same tribe, birds of a feather flocking together. The Dragon-Killing Island gathered their forces and captured them in one go. He might as well try his luck. Perhaps he could take advantage of the chaos to snatch it. After all, other than Zikuei, the demonic lord was also very strong. Disperse. Killing them will be much faster. Lin Feng smiled inwardly. To him, it did not make much of a difference. However, to Yi Fan and Han Fei, there were too many savage-level experts on the dragon-killing island. It would be troublesome for the two of them to launch a sneak attack. Now, he was dealing with them one by one. Although it seemed slow, it was actually more efficient and less likely to be exposed. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes flashed coldly. Up ahead. It was a man in a red battle suit with dragon patterns swirling around his body. Behind him was the image of a faceless Yama king. Isun. Lin Feng clenched his right fist. Isun, the enemy who had tried to kill him time and time again. He didn't even care about his reputation and sent savage-level experts to infiltrate the Sunset Martial Arts Club. If he hadn't moved his mother and sister away, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Thinking of this, Lin Feng's eyes flashed fiercely. When he was on Mount Hua, he couldn't wait to turn Isun into ashes, but he wasn't strong enough. But now he had to kill him. Consider yourself unlucky. Lin Feng's murderous intent surged. Time passed. The sky gradually turned to dusk. The earthquake has weakened. Lin Feng's senses were very clear. He could even detect a weak earthquake. Every time this happened, it meant that the Thunderbolt Pearl was about to appear. He looked over and saw the 11 Sea King-level experts in the innermost circle. They also looked serious. They waited patiently. Every second was very slow at this moment. The experts displayed their strength and circled around in circles, their faces filled with nervousness. Whoosh! The originally bright sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds. It was getting darker and darker. It's coming! Lin Feng was very calm. Unlike the others, he had been locking on to Isun's location. The Thunderbolt Pearl was never Lin Feng's target. In fact, whether it was him or the Elemental Business Alliance, they didn't need the Thunderbolt Pearl that urgently. Boom! Boom! Thunder boomed, shaking the heavens and earth. It seems that the commotion is even greater than the fourth one. Lin Feng compared. The whole sky was pitch black. In a split second, a beam of light appeared like fireworks and shot into the sky. The corners of Lin Feng's mouth curled up into an arc. The lightning beads lit up the night sky, igniting the battle that was about to begin. The 11 Sea King-level experts almost simultaneously, boom, boom, boom. The scene was in a perilous situation. They weren't the only ones. Like a domino effect, the rest of the savage-level experts also burst out with thunderous roars. Spiritual energy and genetic energy exploded wildly. The sky turned dark and the earth was in a mess. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 sharp arrows pierced through. Yi Fan and Han Fei took advantage of the situation and entered the chaotic battle. With the strength of a Sea King, they were at ease in this battle of savage-level experts. Little Fish Swim. Lin Feng also entered. The Wisdom King step, which specialized in attacking, was not as good as Little Fish Swim, which specialized in dodging. In the crowd, Lin Feng was like a little fish swimming around casually. Although he didn't use his titanium-grade body, his strength was already strong enough. Among the savage-level experts, he was definitely a crane in a flock of chickens. Revenge! Lin Feng drew his sword so quickly that no one could see it clearly. Chi! Chi! Blood splattered. The moment he killed the dragon-killing island expert, Lin Feng's figure disappeared. The savage-level experts of the dragon-killing island fell one by one with their eyes wide open. They didn't know what had happened until they died. They had set up a strong enough defense, but death still came suddenly. You! The short man with the katana looked at Lin Feng in horror. Puff! Blood spurted out. In a flash of light there was another corpse. Lin Feng wouldn't go easy on the dragon-killing island. His hatred for the dragon-killing island was even greater than that of the Yi family. His killing intent exploded. Lin Feng soon saw Isun's figure. Boundless Mysterious Art, Level 3. Isun stood alone against 10,000 enemies. A hideous faceless king of hell appeared behind him. His heaven-class fist technique, Boundless King of Hell Fist, had reached the pinnacle of level 4. The first 2 moves were at the perfect level. Isun was able to fend off countless military experts alone. Although he was only at the advanced savage level, he was comparable to a beginner sea king. Very strong. Isun looked proud. In the past 2 months, his strength had increased significantly. The only thing he lacked was a breakthrough in his fist technique. At this moment, he could feel it clearly. That's the feeling. Great. Isun's eyes lit up. Spiritual chi exploded continuously. The breakthrough before the battle made him happy. The strength of each punch was increasing rapidly. He felt that he had officially become a Sea King. Chapter 2:11. At this moment, a figure approached Isun slowly and quickly. Within a few breaths, the figure appeared in front of him, bringing with it the power of thunder and lightning. Isun's expression changed when he heard the tiger's roar. In an instant, he was trapped in this terrifying space. The figure in front of him was very familiar. This height, build, and aura, Lin Feng. Isun's eyes were bloodshot, and he was extremely shocked. Unbelievable! Isun clenched his teeth. He would never be wrong. Spiritual energy was released crazily from his body, and the 3rd level of the heaven-ranked Boundless Mystic Art was instantly pushed to the extreme. The strongest move of the heaven-ranked Fist Art, Boundless Yama Fist, was mastered in this moment of life and death. It was supplemented by the 5th level of the Fist Art, Boundless #Annihilation. Isun smiled crazily. The sudden increase in strength made him very confident. His attack power was more than 10 times stronger than before. But, die. Lin Feng's voice was like a still shadow. The terrifying pressure, along with the power of thunder and lightning and the power of titanium, came crashing down like an unstoppable mountain. The terrifying power was earth-shattering. Isun's eyes widened in shock. Before he died, he seemed to see the familiar face under the human skin mask. In an instant, boom! Thunder and lightning mixed with the power of fire annihilated Isun's consciousness. It was a huge shock. Isun's position was extremely close to the center. Although there were many savage levels, there were very few who were as strong as Isun. His death caused a huge shock. Lin Feng didn't stay. His body was like a small fish as he entered the crowd again. He had succeeded and retreated. At this moment, the fight for the 9th lightning bead had reached its climax. The energy was violent, and the lightning beads were constantly being struck in the sky. The Justice Marshal, Li Jixing, and Zi Kuei were tightly entangled. The rest of the Sea Kings were scrambling to jump. They tried to snatch the lightning bead, but the closer they got, the more they became target. Boom! Another wave of energy exploded. The Thunderbolt Pearl was blasted away, causing the Savage Grade Martial Artist to cry out in shock. The Sea King Grade Martial Artist rushed over. Lin Feng was stunned. Using the small fish swimming body technique, he shuttled through the crowd and left. However, he saw a shining bead of light draw an arc in the air and mysteriously appear in front of him. Lin Feng was slightly surprised and instantly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't intend to seize the lightning pearl and only wanted to leave quietly. He had already completed his mission perfectly. Who would have thought a heavenly treasure fell from the sky? When luck comes, there's no stopping it. Lin Feng smiled. Even though he was not as close to the lightning pearl as the other savage level experts, he was still much closer to it than the other Sea King level expert. The lightning pearl was right in front of him. If he didn't even take it, it would be a bit a waste. Xin Yuan. Lin Feng leaped up. In an instant whoosh. A thin, bird-shaped metal alloy flashed and flashed with white light. It was not a flying sword, which was good at attacking. Xin Yuan was the king of speed. Lin Feng, who had just leaped onto the divine kite, instantly shot forward with a xiao. Behind him, the expressions of the Sea King class powerhouses changed. Zikuei, who was in the middle of a fight, was furious. His face was flushed red, and he used the sunflower manual to its limit. The silver needle pierced through the air. "It's mine!" In front of Lin Feng, a lucky savage level expert's eyes lit up. He caught up with the lightning pearl just in time. However, in the air, the lightning pearl strangely stopped, as if it was caught by a pair of invisible hands. Spiritual power. Whoosh! Lin Feng streaked across the air, leaving behind an afterimage. He disappeared in an instant. The savage level expert stretched out his hand blankly. At this moment, there was no trace of the lightning pearl. Bang! The silver needle shot out and pierced through his head. A hysterical, feminine shout sounded in the air. Zikuei shot forward, followed by a group of Sea King class experts. It was a mess. Just now, was that Lin Feng? Yifan opened his mouth, shocked and pleasantly surprised. Han Fei revealed a playful smile. His body was like a flash of lightning, blending into the crowd. Suddenly, there was a bloody light in his hand. What a fast speed! Lin Feng's brows furrowed as he flew. He could clearly feel the three figures behind him chasing closely. Without a doubt, they were Zikuei, Li Jixing, and Martial Justice. The fastest was Zikuei. There were very few Sea King class experts who had awakened their talent spirit. They also had flying swords, Level 1 Divine Kite and Level 1 Tiger Roaring Saber. Lin Feng came out of the Elemental Business Alliance with a full set of top-tier items. He had even changed into Level 1 Geno Armor combat boots and a Sacred Scale armor. He was fully armed. His flying speed is above mine. Lin Feng was very clear. After all, Zikuei was the young master of Dragon Killing Island. The quality of his flying sword would not be bad. With the 5th stage of his talent spirit, his flying speed was indeed not as fast as his. But whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Right now, he was not really afraid of Zikuei. He was afraid of Li Jixing and Martial Justice. If it was one-on-one, he could compete with Zikuei. But once Li Jixing and Martial Justice joined in, the situation would become very complicated. Moreover, there were 8 other Sea King class experts behind them. As this thought flashed through his mind, there was a sound behind him. Zikuei had already appeared in his field of vision. "Where do you think you are going?" Zikuei screamed. "Run!" Lin Feng made a decision instantly. "Titanium-grade body!" Lin Feng shouted. Crack! Patter! His muscles bulged as a violent force gushed out from his body. Lin Feng's eyes were cold and bright. He had a deep hatred for Dragon Killing Island. Although he was being chased, it was actually a great opportunity, because Zikuei did not know his true strength. Whoosh! Lin Feng turned around abruptly. The divine kite stopped at 180 degrees. It was indeed the highest quality level 1. Blazing thunder! Lin Feng's tiger roaring saber exploded instantly. In the 5th level of saber techniques, the flaming saber was at its strongest. With the strengthening of the titanium-grade body, Zikuei did not need to use the super-heavy titanium domain. Instead, his momentum would increase the power of his attack. Behind Lin Feng, 5 giant dragons suddenly appeared, and a scorching sun rose. 9 dragons scripture! Zikuei screamed. His expression changed. Swish! 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 The embroidery silver needle flew out quickly. Zikuei's spiritual power was fully unleashed. Although the needle was small, its power was not to be underestimated. However, before he could slow down, the saber radiance appeared. The needle's power was less than 50%. Zikuei gritted his teeth. The threat of death came. Boom! Lin Feng's saber was too terrifying. The infinite power broke through the spiritual power silver needle. Zikuei's face turned pale. The saber energy was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, about to cut him. "No!" Zikuei screamed. A light appeared on his neck. Holy treasure, black tortoise seal. Clang! A golden chi seal condensed into the image of a black tortoise. Bang! The terrifying force made Lin Feng and Zi Kuei's bodies shake violently. They flew backward. Zi Kuei's black tortoise seal dimmed and disappeared. Every time he used it, his sacred power would be consumed. Although he was not injured, his spiritual power was broken. Coupled with the force of the saber energy, Zi Kuei was injured. 9 Dragons Scripture. Level 5 9 Dragons Scripture. He is the descendant of the Ji family that father has been looking for. Zi Kuei's eyes lit up. Chapter 212. Spirit Kite. Lin Feng quickly manipulated his spiritual power. His body swayed slightly as he stood still. He was also injured, but his injuries were slightly lighter than Zi Kuei's. Disappointment appeared in his eyes as the spirit kite flew at high speed. Lin Feng adjusted his breathing. The strong recoil just now made his chest feel stuffy. The defense of the black tortoise statue was extremely terrifying. Holy treasure. A defense-type holy treasure. Lin Feng instantly judged. His attack power was close to that of a legend expert. His all-out attack was unable to break the defense of the black tortoise statue. It was definitely a defense-type holy treasure. What a pity, Lin Feng said to himself. Just now was the best opportunity to kill Zi Kuei. Zi Kuei didn't know his own strength, so he was careless. His sunflower manual was heavy and agile. Close combat was definitely not its forte. However, he had a powerful trump card to protect himself, which was unexpected. The 9 Dragons Scripture might have been exposed. Lin Feng didn't care. The one who should be worried was the dragon-killing island lord, not him. He didn't need to worry about his mother and sister's safety in Elemental City. He was alone. What was there to be afraid of? What a strong earthquake! Lin Feng was shocked. As he sped forward, he could clearly feel the earth shaking and the sky shaking. The entire Qinling Mountains were shaking violently. Lin Feng was moved by the strong earthquake that he had never experienced before. An unusual phenomenon. Previously, when he obtained the first, third, and fourth lightning pearls, there weren't any subsequent phenomena. The appearance of the lightning pearls would cause a period of peace in the Qinling Mountains. However, it was the opposite now. The phenomenon intensified. In addition, when the 9th lightning pearl was unearthed, it was much stronger than the other lightning pearls. This meant that, is the real holy treasure about to appear? Lin Feng continued to speed up. After colliding with Zi Kuei's attack, the distance between him and the Sea King level expert behind him had shrunk. As for Zi Kuei, he was still chasing after him. This is a bit troublesome. Lin Feng thought of a countermeasure. The chase didn't stop. He had escaped from the gates of hell. At this moment, Zi Kuei was very afraid of Lin Feng. If it wasn't for the protection of the Saint Treasure, the Dark Tortoise Seal, that saber strike from before would have probably killed him. The silver needles in his hand shone, and Zi Kuei's pupils emitted a baleful energy. Chi, chi, chi. 4 silver needles condensed an astonishing amount of spiritual energy and pierced through the air. The 3rd stage of the Sunflower Manual. Silver Dove Needle. The silver needle was thin and long, as if it could steal one's soul. 1 finger pointed to the back of his head, 2 to his throat, and 3 to his dantian. 4 fingers on the 3rd leg. Zi Kuei's movements were not only tricky, but also extremely powerful. In the whole of ancient Huaxia, no one could compare to Zi Kuei in terms of talent. It was so fast that it arrived in an instant. The essence of the Sunflower Manual was speed. Only speed was invincible. Heartless Spectrum. Lin Feng instantly turned around and blasted out his spiritual energy. The moment the 4 silver dove needles were blocked, the Tiger Roar saber let out a loud roar. Roar. Flaming Tree Silver Flower. Lin Feng's performance had reached the point of perfection. Supplemented by the 5th stage of the 9 Dragons Scripture, a majestic blazing force blasted out along with the power of thunder and lightning, directly colliding with the 4 silver dove needles in midair. The forces collided. Bang! The distance between Lin Feng and Zi Kuei instantly widened. Neither of them had the upper hand. What a strong penetrating force! Lin Feng was shocked. He had already experienced the speed of Zi Kuei's silver needles. However, the power of the attack and the strength of the penetrating force were unexpected. Although Flaming Tree Silver Flower was not his strongest attack, it was not far from it. It was difficult to resist the penetrating force of the silver needles with just the blade force. Fortunately, there was the condensed power of titanium, as well as the blazing force of the 9 Dragons scripture. Including the use of the Heartless Spectrum, it forced the silver needles to slow down. Boom! The remaining blade force passed through the silver needles and went straight for Zi Kuei. However, Zi Kuei's movement technique was very demonic. Supplemented by spiritual energy, Zi Kuei's movement technique was not inferior to Li Jixing's, especially in this spacious battle space. Not to mention injuring Zi Kuei, to hit him, it was very difficult. Humph! Zi Kuei's figure suddenly appeared. His eyes were gloomy. This kid's attack is actually comparable to Zhou Jingyi's. Zi Kuei followed Lin Feng. He did not attack again. After all, every attack consumed spiritual energy. Unlike genetic energy, spiritual energy could not be recovered quickly. In addition, he had clashed with Lin Feng twice in a row. At this time, Li Jixing and the Justice Marshal had already caught up. Zi Kuei was not stupid enough to take the lead. However, what Zi Kuei did not know was that Li Jixing and the Justice Marshal had a private agreement. It did not matter which of the two forces obtained the Thunderbolt Pearl. Only Dragon Killing Island could not. Once Zi Kuei obtained the Thunderbolt Pearl, they would join forces to encircle him. No matter how powerful Zi Kuei's movement technique was, he would not be able to escape from the joint forces of the two. As for Lin Feng, Li Jixing and the Justice Marshal's pursuit was not so much Lin Feng as Zi Kuei. Ancient Huaxia and Dragon Killing Island were only aligned because of their interests. The 4 of them each had their own plans. At this time, the Sea Kings behind them were already some distance away. Even the most powerful demon monarch was not at the same level as the 4 of them. With Lin Feng in front, Zi Kuei used his spiritual energy conservatively. His devilish face was extremely handsome. He was not in a hurry, because Lin Feng's talent soul was much weaker than his. Like a cat catching a mouse, it would not be too late to capture Lin Feng when Lin Feng's spiritual energy was depleted. However, Zi Kuei glanced behind him and shouted, "You're haunting me." Li Jixing and the Justice Marshal were not slow. The sky was already dark. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He had already left Mount Zhongnan and Mount Hua. The ground shook violently like a mountain god was furious. The entire ground was bulging as if a monster deep underground had awakened. The water in the river surged and the mountains collapsed. It was as if a natural disaster had descended. The entire Qinling Mountain was in chaos. Lin Feng was not the only one who was shocked. Zi Kuei, Li Jixing, and the Justice Marshal also looked serious. Rumble! Rumble! Boom! The valley collapsed as if the end of the world had arrived. Thunder and lightning intertwined in the dark night. The deafening sound pierced their eardrums. The huge change in the phenomenon made Lin Feng and the other 3's hearts jump. Their gazes fell on the valley. Mud and rocks fell crazily. A terrifying force surged out. What a terrifying aura! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. His chest rose and fell. It was filled with violence and blood. It was filled with killing intent. That feeling was countless times more terrifying than a disaster-level meteorite. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide and looked forward. In an instant there was a loud sound like a nuclear bomb exploding. The spring thunder that was as thick as a stone pillar fell, erupting with a glaring white light. Bang! Bang! It was mixed with an ear-piercing sound, frantic and surging. A monstrous, domineering aura condensed in the air. The shadow of an arrogant man in purple crystal armor flashed. In his hand, He held a golden light blade with lightning circling it. It shone brightly. The golden light beam shot into the clouds and lit up the night sky. A powerful aura completely erupted. Xiangyu! Overlord? 9 Secret Thunder Blade. Zikuei and the others were shocked. Chapter 213. Lin Feng was also shocked. Although the Qinling Mountains were the border between the western Chu region and the Qinhuang region, he did not expect to see a legendary figure here. The conqueror Xiangyu. Although he was defeated and committed suicide in the Wu River, it did not tarnish his reputation as the conqueror. Legend-level expert. Lin Feng looked at the phantom in the air and was shocked. No, that's not right. He can't be the conqueror Xiangyu. Lin Feng was very clear. A dead person could not be resurrected. Not to mention, the conqueror Xiangyu committed suicide in the Wu River. Even his corpse had turned into ashes. Phantom? Lin Feng was full of doubts. But, why did the virtual shadow have such a strong power and a terrifying and violent aura? Swish. Lin Feng stared at the gold battle knife. He looked at it like he was looking at an annihilation-class monster. He looked murderous. It was like he was going to kill anyone who stood in his way. If a Buddha stood in his way, he would kill a Buddha. The golden saber that absorbed the power of thunder was Xiangyu's weapon, according to the history book. The 9 Serenities Thunder Saber. It was an ominous saber in the legends. Swish. Zikuei exploded. With the fastest flying speed among the 4, he instantly surpassed Lin Feng and the other 2 and followed Lin Feng closely. Zikuei finally found the best opportunity. But his target was not Lin Feng. To him, Lin Feng was not even 1% as attractive as the 9 Serenities Thunder Saber. That was the real priceless holy treasure. What a terrifying speed! Lin Feng was shocked. At this moment, he saw Zikuei's true speed. The Sunflower Manual was indeed a super heaven-class Heart Sutra. Although the price was high, once cultivated, it was extremely terrifying. In the post-wuxia era, Invincible East relied on an embroidery needle to dominate the Jianghu, and no one could defeat him. When attacking, the spiritual power was concentrated on one point. The embroidery needle was very small. Although its power was condensed from spiritual power, its penetrating power was extremely terrifying. He had personally tested it just now. Speed, the advantage of spiritual power, was fully displayed. It was enough to be called invincible among the Sea Kings. Even if I use the second layer of the super heavy titanium domain, I can't stop him. Lin Feng looked at Zikuei's back. At this time, this red figure, whose gender was difficult to distinguish, had already left everyone behind. His attacks were powerful and formless, and his speed was more than twice that of an expert of the same level. The sunflower scripture was too powerful. That's perfect. Let him test the waters first. Lin Feng followed closely behind. His intuition told him that this 9 Nether Thunder Saber was far more dangerous than it appeared to be. Just the appearance of the Overlord's phantom image already possessed a terrifying power. With the addition of the lightning, Lin Feng felt as if all the cells in his body were being shaken by the power of the lightning. He felt an inexplicable sense of joy. However, it was exceptionally dangerous. In the night sky, 4 figures approached at high speed. In the void, the 9 Serenities Thunderblade's proud eyes flashed with golden light, and the image of the Overlord Xiangyu appeared. His domineering aura was natural, and even the purple crystal armor on his body was perfectly reflected. At this moment, it was as if he had returned to the time when the Chu and Han dynasties were at war, to the moment when the peerless heroes looked down on the world. Invincible Overlord! At this moment, a sharp voice broke the silence. It's mine! Zikuei's eyes shone brightly, and he was wild with joy. It was a blessing in disguise. Although he missed the lightning beat again, not only did he see the descendant of the Ji family with his own eyes. Now, he was very close to the real holy treasure, the 9 Serenities Thunderblade. What was the lightning bead? It was just an ordinary holy treasure. The 9 Serenities Thunderblade was at least a mid-grade holy treasure. No, it's more likely to be a high-grade holy treasure. Zikue's eyes were full of greed. Sunflower Scripture, 4th level. With a face like a peach blossom, Zikue no longer hid his strength. 4th level. In the past, Dongfang Bubi had only cultivated to the 4th level, and Zikue was only 20 years old. In the void, there seemed to be a sunflower blooming, releasing an astonishing amount of spiritual power. Zikue went straight for the 9 Serenities Thunderblade, trying to take it for himself. Bang! In the void, an invisible force collided. The overlord Xiangyu, who was originally standing like a stone sculpture and looking down on the little ones, had already set his eyes on Zikue. Lightning roared, domineering, with a hint of anger. He moved. The 9 Serenities Thunderblade shone with golden light, and the spring thunder roared, deafening. What a strong blade will! Lin Feng was shocked. It was definitely a perfect blade will. As soon as he made a move, he could feel the strong power of the blade and the shocking power of lightning. The simple and fast blade was used by the overlord Xiangyu, but there was an extremely complicated concept hidden in it. Qi. Golden light shone brightly. The explosive sound was heard, covering the sound of the spring thunder. Using force to explode, it was a pure force attack, an explosive move, turning complexity into simplicity. It seemed to be somewhat similar to the blade move, hatred, but it was more flexible, stronger, and faster. No! Zikue's expression changed. He had never been good at defense. The Sunflower Scripture was pushed to the limit, and the golden needles shot out. Fortunately, he was still far away, and Zikue had to use his spiritual power to grab the blade, so he had time to react. At the same time, a golden round shield appeared in front of Zikue, flashing with golden crescent-shaped light and rippling, enveloping him. Zikue's weakest point was defense. As the young master of Dragon Killing Island, he had his own trump card. It was a defense-type holy treasure, the Golden Moon Illusionary Shield. Boom! The explosive blade broke through Zikue's silver needle attack, and instantly fell on the Golden Moon Illusionary Shield. The golden crescent-shaped light shattered into pieces, and the ripples were chaotic. Although he blocked the blade, after the terrifying impact was weakened, Zikue still groaned and fell. Lin Feng was shocked. He had seen it with his own eyes. The strength of this attack had already reached the level of a legend ranker. Suddenly, oh no! Lin Feng's expression changed. The overlord Xiangyu, who had defeated Zikue in one move, stared at him fiercely. He raised the 9 Serenity Thunderblade above his head. Boom! Boom! The power of spring thunder condensed on the blade, thunder and lightning intertwined, and the strong blade energy pressed down like a mountain. At this moment it was too late to retreat. Condense! Lin Feng felt the threat of death. The titanium power circulated crazily, and the super-heavy titanium domain was used at an unprecedented speed. The titanium power rapidly condensed on the Tiger Roar battle blade. All the hair on his body stood on end. The extreme threat was terrifying. Lin Feng's palms were sweating as he held the Tiger Roar battle blade, but the connection between him and the blade was unprecedentedly close. The 5th level of the 9 Dragons Scripture. Extreme acceleration. Spiritual energy flowed into his right hand, into the Tiger Roar battle blade, and merged perfectly with the titanium power. The performance of the flaming blade appeared in his mind again and again. At this moment, the clearest was not the first 3 moves, but the 4th move, Raging Thunder. The power of thunder and lightning was jumping like cells. In the air, the golden light and endless pressure brought the true pressure of death. At this moment, Lin Feng understood. Come and fight. Lin Feng stood up unyieldingly. As if he had felt Xiang Yu's domineering aura, his body was infected. With the 5th level of the blade technique complemented with the 4th move of the flaming blade, 5 giant dragons roared and circled behind him, and a scorching sun appeared. It merged perfectly with the tiger roar battle blade in his hand. Lin Feng exploded his strongest attack. Boom! It shook the sky and the earth. Chapter 214. Zhou Jingyi and Li Jisheng looked at the sky. 2 bolts of lightning clashed. The unyielding human fighter was like an ant fighting against the heavens. However, bang! The ending did not change. So strong! Li Jisheng murmured. Indeed, so strong. Zhou Jingyi's eyes were filled with shock. In the air, Overlord Xiangyu and the 9 hidden thunder blade trembled slightly. The golden light and the shadow on Overlord Xiangyu's body dimmed slightly. Lin Feng suffered a heavy blow. Even his level S1 Geno armor cracked. The shocking power of lightning entered his body and spread wildly. Different from Zikuei, Lin Feng faced Overlord Xiangyu head-on. The power of spring lightning entered his body. Pung! Lin Feng fell heavily into the rocky valley. The result of fighting against the heavens was a heavy injury. There was no reason for it. Overlord Xiangyu was too strong. The 2 clean slashes injured Zikuei and Lin Feng. This is a legend-class fighter. Li Jisheng's face flashed with a rare joy. He did not hide his challenge. Zhou Jingyi's face was serious. He stared at Overlord Xiangyu in the air and said, "No, it's not a real Overlord. It's 9 hidden thunder blade." Whoosh! Zhou Jingyi's voice faded. Li Jisheng had already sped away. Born from calamity. I, too, was born from calamity. Sizzle! Sizzle! The power of lightning ran wildly in his body. Lin Feng fell into a pile of rubble. His face was pale. Every movement of his body was excruciatingly painful. His bones were broken and his meridians were damaged. It was definitely a serious injury. Not to mention the wild power of lightning in his body. Whoosh! Lin Feng's hand flashed with a light. Earth Treasure Level 5 Skunda Ice Fruit. Although it was only a low grade, it could heal external injuries. His left hand trembled. The pain of the broken bones was like steel hitting his heart. Lin Feng put it in his mouth with difficulty. He did not even have the strength to chew. He swallowed it. It was cold to the heart. In a split second, an ice-cold energy flowed through his entire body through his meridians, repairing damaged meridians and internal organs. The cells split, the damaged skin gradually healed, and the bones grew again. Lin Feng's expression relaxed slightly. After a long time, Lin Feng exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and smiled bitterly. Just now. He couldn't even smile. I almost died. Lin Feng controlled his spirit energy to fight against the power of thunder and lightning in his body. But strangely, when the violent power of thunder and lightning entered his body, it wasn't as destructive as he had imagined. As his spirit energy were consumed, he even saw the power of lightning was actually being devoured by the cells? Lin Feng was astonished. Could it be because I absorbed 3 lightning bolts? Lin Feng pondered. Thinking about it, this was the only possibility. It was a freak combination of factors. Otherwise, with just the remnant lightning energy in his body, it was enough to make him suffer. On the other side, Zikuei wasn't any better than Lin Feng. In terms of physique, he wasn't as good as Lin Feng. In terms of strengthening the body, spirit energy was far inferior to spirit energy. Innate soul and earth soul each had their own strength. Gritting his teeth, Zikuei also took an earth treasure level spirit fruit for healing. At his and Lin Feng's level, earth treasure level treasures were nothing. 9 Serenity Thunderblade. Zikuei's feminine face. There was a hint of cruelty and stubbornness. To be able to become a high-level Sea King at the age of 20, it wasn't just a cultivation environment. It could be summed up as a peerless talent. In terms of talent, Zikuei wasn't as good as Li Jisheng or Lin Feng, but he was ruthless. He was ruthless to others and even more ruthless to himself. I hope Father can get here faster. I have to get there before that old Gaijinwu. Zikuei lay in the gravel, cold and terrifying. Although he couldn't get the 9 Serenity Thunderblade immediately, this was luck and not fate. With enough capital to protect himself, Zikuei dared to take the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. Being injured was nothing. At least he knew the details of the holy treasure and immediately informed his father. Li Jixing, Zhou Humph, Zikuei disdainfully. The holy treasure itself already had the power of a legend. Even if the 3 of them worked together, they wouldn't succeed. Recover my strength first. Wait for father to come. If we can get the treasure this time, Dragon-Killing Island will rise. It's just around the corner. Zikuei smiled coldly. The intense pain in his body was nothing at all at this moment. In the valley, Zhou Jingyi stood like a heavenly general, his body tempered into steel. This child is so powerful. Zhou Jingyi's eyes were like torches. The red dragon badge on his shoulder flashed. At this moment, the battle ahead was in full swing. Li Jixing and the overlord Xiang Yu were fighting alone. Their blade auras covered the entire area, causing the valley to rumble and shake. However, Li Jixing's body was illusory. He moved as if he was riding waves. His footwork was amazing. The Book of Changes has 64 hexagrams, endless changes. This child is only 18 years old, but he has already grasped the essence of the wave-like subtle steps. He has practiced the body intent to the extreme. Born in the face of calamity. Zhou Jingyi sighed. In terms of speed, Zikuei was indeed the strongest among the Sea Kings. However, in terms of dodging and movement, Li Jixing was the best. With the help of the Northern Nether Power and the 6th Meridian Divine Sword, he might be lacking in attack power, but his combat ability was extremely strong. This could be seen from the fact that he could survive the Overlord Xiang Yu's attacks. If he can break through to the legend level, this kid will definitely become another pillar of our ancient Huaxia. Zhou Jingyi nodded in satisfaction. In the pile of rubble, bang! Stone fragments flew everywhere and smoke filled the air. Bang! A figure broke out of the rubble. Lin Feng held the Tiger Roar battle blade. His pale face had recovered a little. His severely injured body had recovered about 30% of his strength, but he had consumed a lot of spirit chi and spiritual power. He looked up. Although he couldn't see the situation clearly, he knew a thing or two from the sword radiance and the violent aura. The Overlord Xiang Yu was still fighting. I'm not his opponent at all. Lin Feng was helpless. He had already unleashed his strength in the desperate situation, but he was still severely injured. Even if he had the strength of a high-level Sea King expert, his opponent was a legend-level expert. 2 slashes to severely injure Zikuei and me. Li Jixing and the Justice Marshal will not be able to defeat the Overlord Xiang Yu. Even if the other Sea Kings come, the result will not change. The 9 Serenity's Thunderblade is too strong. Lin Feng analyzed. The strength of the Sage Treasure had exceeded his level. With Zikuei's character, he must have informed the Dragon-Killing Island Lord. The Justice Marshal must have informed the true Martial Emperor as well. Lin Feng nodded. The situation was very clear. Even if the 9 Serenity's Thunderblade's violent aura was exhausted, and he was extremely lucky to obtain it, he might not be able to get past the Dragon-Killing Island Lord and the true Martial Emperor. Especially the Dragon-Killing Island Lord. Now that his 9 dragon scripture had been exposed, he might not be able to obtain the treasure and might even get himself killed. Looks like it is not fated with me. Lin Feng looked up at the sky and sighed inwardly. Although the 9 Serenity's Thunderblade was definitely the most suitable sage treasure for him, but how could everything in this world go according to one's wishes? It should be broken. However, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Chapter 215. Whoosh! Zikuei's figure appeared in the gravel valley. Cold light flashed in his gloomy eyes. His spirit power spread out as if he was searching for something. Murderous intent was revealed between his brows. This brat should be nearby. He searched everywhere, but Zikuei was vicious and merciless. After his strength recovered slightly, he failed to seize the treasure and came to find trouble with Lin Feng. A lightning bead. Moreover, it was the descendant of the Ji clan that his father was looking for. Although it was not as important as the 9 serene thunder saber, but, just like how a businessman would not refuse a large fortune and would not stop a small fortune, Zikuei wanted the 9 serene thunder saber and did not intend to let Lin Feng go. Cunning! It seems. I am one step too late. Zikuei snorted coldly. The silver dove needle in his hand flashed as he gnashed his teeth. Do you think I won't know who you are just because you are wearing a human skin mask? Spirit power, blazing saber technique, titanium power. I am afraid. He is the new Elemental Merchant Alliance's most popular leader now. Lin Feng. Humph, you are dead. Lin Feng's characteristics were unique. Just like Zikuei's characteristics, once the Sunflower Treasure Book appeared, everyone knew it was him. The stronger the strength, the clearer the distinction. Basically, when one's strength reached the level of a Sea King, one would know the details of the opponent as soon as they made a move. Zikuei, one of the twin stars of ancient Huaxia, had such achievements at the age of 20. He was not stupid. However, he was indeed one step too late. Whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng was traveling in this desolate basin. He did not use the flying sword, divine kite. Firstly, the continuous pursuit had consumed a lot of his spirit power. Different genetic energies required time to replenish his spirit power and spirit power. It was a race against time, so he could preserve his strength. Secondly, with his feet on the ground, he could find the location more accurately. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. 9 lightning beads. 9 serene thunder saber. There must be a connection. Lin Feng felt the cells in his body jumping with joy as if they were calling out. The power of lightning. When the 9 nether thunder saber was born, thunder and lightning circled around, and spring thunder rumbled down. A strange phenomenon occurred, and the cells in his body became excited. After absorbing the 3 lightning beads and the high-grade heaven treasure, the subduing eagle thunder veins, Lin Feng realized that he was very sensitive to the power of lightning. Right now, he was already far away from the 9 nether thunder blade, and had just calmed down. It became active again. Not simple. This phenomenon has lasted for nearly a year. So many holy treasures have appeared. This is too unusual. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. For example, the appearance of rare earth elements in the Day Zero ruin world. After that, the magnetic field changed and the elemental beasts surged out crazily because of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum underground. This time, the great phenomenon of the Qinling Mountains, the appearance of the 9 nether thunder saber, at the same time, he might be hiding something. He couldn't see through it because his vision hadn't reached that level yet. It didn't mean that it didn't exist. It's here. Lin Feng stood on the hillside. Looking down, it was a complete mess. The enormous basin had been destroyed and turned into a pile of rubble. He closed his eyes. Lin Feng could clearly feel the cells in his body jumping with incomparable joy. There seemed to be something calling out to him under the rubble. It was very weak. Boom! The tiger roar saber was like the roar of a tiger. The blazing energy of the 9 dragons scripture reappeared. Lin Feng was like an unparalleled war god. The 5th move of the flaming saber was quickly executed. Mountain of blades and sea of flames. The boundless saber energy was mixed with powerful flames. Streams of energy crashed into the already dilapidated gravel basin. Flames surged into the sky. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. These rubble were all from the surrounding mountains, filling up this basin. The appearance of the 9 nether thunder saber was extremely destructive and caused too much of a commotion. Even the 9 lightning beads added together were less than 1/10 of its power. At this moment, The earthquake had already subsided. Obviously, the Nine Nether Thunder Saber was the cause of this strange phenomenon in the Qinling Mountains. The main culprit. Bang! Bang! The saber energy and flames instantly cleared the rubble on the basin. At this moment, in the middle of the basin, there was an existence that looked like the mouth of a well, with the remaining power of thunder and lightning. Whoosh! Lin Feng's figure flashed and landed above the mouth of the well. His eyes glowed slightly. Divine kite! Lin Feng shouted softly. A thin metal alloy in the shape of a bird flashed and activated the ruthless spectrum. Lin Feng stepped on the divine kite and suddenly made a 90-degree turn. Like riding the wind and breaking the waves, he plunged down from the mouth of the well. His figure disappeared. The moment Lin Feng left, it was as if a pair of invisible hands appeared and quickly filled up the empty mouth of the well. The more skilled, the more daring. Lin Feng had never been afraid of challenges. The power of thunder and lightning remained in the pitch-black underground. Lin Feng was sure that this must be the passage opened by the appearance of the Nine Nether Thunder Saber. However, since he had already entered, he naturally wouldn't allow anyone to follow him. Waves of spiritual energy were released, filling up the empty space and blocking the passage. For Lin Feng, shuttling through the underground was too easy. The spiritual energy directly separated the mud and rock. As he shuttled through, the whole underground was like his own home. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng had already gone deep. What was under the ground? A palace? Was it a treasure or a trap? Lin Feng didn't know. But if he didn't take the risk, how could he gain anything? In the valley, after a fierce battle, Li Jixing finally couldn't defeat the overlord Xiang Yu. Even if it was just a shadow and not even 10% of the overlord Xiang Yu's true strength, the gap between a legend-level expert and a Sea King-level expert was insurmountable. No matter how talented Li Jixing was, he was only 18 years old. Boom! Thunder and lightning roared. The whole ground rapidly turned and shrouded the Nine Nether Thunder Saber. Sky-spinning thunder. Not good. Zhou Jingyi's expression changed. Wave-like subtle steps was indeed very strong, but the biggest weakness was large-scale attack. Normally, large-scale attacks would be weakened as the area expanded. However, the overlord Xiang Yu's Thunder Saber was so strong that even if it was weakened, it was not something Li Jixing could compete with. 18 dragons subduing palms. Zhou Jingyi's steel-like body blocked in front of Li Jixing. The strong and fierce fist technique, the roaring of the scorching sun, the tyrannical attack of the Nine Yang scripture met the Nine Nether Thunder Saber. 6 Pulse Divine Sword. Li Jixing also launched an attack. But boom, boom. With a violent explosion, thunder energy scattered everywhere. Zhou Jingyi and Li Jixing groaned and were defeated in one move. The overlord Xiang Yu held the Thunder Saber in his hand. Thunder roared like an invincible god of war, looking down on the small fry. At this time, the demon monarch and the others finally arrived. The whole valley became lively. In the distance, Zikuei frowned and glanced at the crystal watch. Suddenly, a cold smile appeared on his face. It's almost over. Lin Feng continued to go deeper into the ground. His cells were excited and became clearer. His body felt a strong pressure, as if he had entered the depths of a lake. The deeper he went, the greater the pressure. His whole body was hot and sweat appeared on his forehead. The heat of the magma was suffocating. The real depths of the Earth's core. It was very dangerous, because no one knew what was in the depths of the Earth's core. But Lin Feng's blood was full of desire and challenge. We're here. We're almost there. Lin Feng's heart beat fast. All the cells in his body seemed to be excited. Suddenly, he saw a flash of white light below. It was like the only light in the endless darkness. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Whoosh! It pierced through. Chapter 216. In front of his eyes there was a bright white light. Yenf, in an instant, what appeared was a boundless sea of magma, the furnace hell. Lin Feng was greatly shocked, but faintly, he felt as if there was a majestic and boundless force that was intimidating him. A soft sound of surprise inexplicably resounded in his ears, strong and heavy. Lin Feng suddenly entered a strange space, and his perception of his surroundings instantly disappeared. His body was as heavy as 1,000 caddies. An extreme sense of oppression came from all directions. Lin Feng pursed his lips tightly, and the flying sword Shin Kite under his feet seemed to be sucked away. What a strong energy! What a terrifying sense of oppression! Lin Feng was shocked. The pressure coming from all directions was like a mountain squeezing him in the center. Even if he used the first level of the titanium-grade body, and his body was as strong as a high-level Sea King, he still felt his heart tremble. This terrifying force could completely destroy an ordinary savage-level powerhouse. Directly destroy him. Lin Feng looked up. This was a seemingly invisible but tangible space. There was an indescribable sense of restraint, as if there was a layer of invisible force blocking the surroundings. Below, there was also a layer of terrifying force. No, it's 2 layers. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Or 3 layers. He couldn't sense it clearly, but it was definitely more than the hellish magma and fire snakes that could be seen with his eyes. An unusually powerful force was blocking the heat of the magma. He didn't know if it was this invisible force or some other energy. Looking around, Lin Feng's eyes were burning. Around him were 9 nebula-like chains, colorful and flashing with bright light, seemingly real and illusory. He didn't know where the nebula chains led to, but he couldn't see the end. After looking around carefully, Lin Feng suddenly smiled. His smile was somewhat bitter. The whole space was basically a prison. Trapped in midair by the 9 nebula chains, the endless scorching magma below had a high temperature that could kill even a Sea King-level powerhouse. Around him was an invisible force shield. Airtight, the space was suffocating, and the majestic pressure was everywhere. If this wasn't a prison, then what was? The white light I saw just now was this layer of invisible force. Or the color of the 9 nebula chains? Lin Feng did not panic. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. He carefully sized up this space, and his gaze instantly focused on the center. There was a strange 8 trigrams that was incomparably mysterious. It was as if the center of the entire space was filled with layers of magnetic aurora. They formed circles and circles. The most attractive part was the center of the entire magnetic aurora, which was also the origin of the energy. A piece of crystal. It was sparkling and translucent, emitting a charming light. It seemed transparent, but it was actually turbid and boundless. Looking at the sparkling crystal, Lin Feng's eyes began to shine brightly. His heart trembled, and he felt as if he were being sucked into it. Even his soul was trembling. It was a boundlessly vast space that was vast like the universe, and he was like a speck of dust within it. His heart trembled violently. Lin Feng's breathing. His breathing became extremely rapid. Suddenly, humph! A cold snort entered his ears. Lin Feng's mind suddenly became clear. In a split second, his mind became clear and he left the vast universe. A chill ran down his spine. Lin Feng still had lingering fear. This sparkling and translucent crystal was like a soul-sucking beast that could make people fall deep into it. As he withdrew, the originally charming light of the crystal dimmed. This? Lin Feng looked around but did not see anyone. But just now, he clearly heard a cold snort. Including when he entered this prison. He also seemed to have heard a similar sound of surprise. Junior Lin Feng, I have mistakenly entered this place. Senior, thank you for your help just now. Lin Feng will never forget it. Lin Feng said respectfully. If it were not for that cold snort, he did not know how long he would have been trapped in the illusion, nor did he know whether he would be in danger. But it was quiet. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He looked around. The entire space was not big, and he could see everything at a glance. Was it an illusion? Lin Feng thought. At this time, his spiritual power was gradually exhausted. Lin Feng glanced down. The hot magma fire was under his feet. If he stepped down from Shun Kuan, he hesitated, but it seemed that he did not have any other choice. When his spiritual power was exhausted, he would still have to go down. Step. Lin Feng jumped down. He was a decisive person. His eyes were bright, but suddenly, he strangely stopped in midair. There seemed to be an invisible barrier under his feet. It seems that I am really trapped. Lin Feng looked down and smiled bitterly. He raised his head and a light flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, he pulled out the tiger roar as fast as lightning. He didn't pull out the sword, but the sword intent was so strong that it blasted out incisively. Revenge. It seemed that he was hallucinating again. There was a soft snort. Then, ping! The frenzied sword collided fiercely. The invisible barrier directly eliminated the blade. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Although he did not use his full strength, his attack power was close to the legend level. Even a casual blade had the power of a Sea King level. However, it was like a stone thrown into a lake, only causing a ripple. There was a sound in his ears again. This time, Lin Feng heard it clearly. The slightly disdainful laughter was very clear. It was not an illusion. Senior, may I ask if you can show yourself? Lin Feng asked respectfully as he carefully looked around. At this time, the fantasy crystal flickered with light. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In the valley, Li Jixing and Zhou Jingyi were forced to retreat by the overlord Xiang Yu. The two high-level Sea King-level powerhouses, the top 5 super powerhouses in ancient Huaxia, were defeated. Suddenly, there was a shrill sound. 4 silver dove needles appeared silently. Not far away, Zikue's red figure was extremely charming and cold. Despicable! Zhou Jingyi was angry. He had his principles, and so did Li Jixing. They did not sneak attack Zikue when he was seriously injured, but Zikue was quite vicious. 6 Pulse Divine Sword. Compared to Zhou Jingyi, Li Jixing's injuries were lighter. After all, Zhou Jingyi had taken more than 80% of the damage from the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. Li Jixing only suffered a little from the recoil. In terms of injuries, he was the lightest of the 4. His sword energy could be used as a sword. It was similar to the flaming saber technique, but it was much more powerful. Humph! Zikue laughed coldly. If I'm despicable, how good are you? The sneak attack was blocked, but Zikue did not care. If he could not see the relationship between Zhou Jingyi and Li Jixing, then he was the island master in vain. Moreover, he did not care about the rules of the world. For Zikue, success was everything. In order to practice the Sunflower Manual, he could be ruthless to himself. In an instant, Zikue and Li Jixing were entangled again. Peng! Zhou Jingyi fell heavily. His face was pale and he was seriously injured. At this time, the 8 Sea King level powerhouses led by the Demon Monarch had long been consumed by greed. They fought to be first, snatching the holy treasure, obtaining a fortuitous encounter, and becoming a legend-level powerhouse. This was definitely the dream of every Sea King-level powerhouse. However, reality was often cruel. In the blink of an eye, thunder rumbled, and the terrifying blade energy appeared again. The Demon Monarch and the others groaned and retreated with injuries. Some were dead and some were injured. The result of greed was often to lose one's life, because they were not strong enough. Lin Feng and the other 3 were not strong enough, but he had the strength. Boom! A majestic force came from the sky, directly attacking the overlord Xiang Yu. Chapter 217. Zikue, who was fighting with Li Jixing, smiled softly. He was very familiar with this aura. The 6th level, Mysterious Chaos. The energy was thick and heavy, and a man in black armor appeared in the air. He gave off a tyrannical aura of a tiger and wolf, and was indestructible. The aura was so strong that it was comparable to the violent thunder phenomenon triggered by the 9 Serenities' thunder blade. He was the 10th strongest expert in the world. The dragon-killing island lord. A true legend expert. Boom! The spring thunder exploded. On the other side, the overlord Xiang Yu also unleashed a strong attack. Wearing the purple crystal armor, he was as strong as the heavens. He was fighting against so many experts alone and did not seem to be inferior at all. The blade chi went straight for the chaotic chi. The battle between the strong and the strong started instantly, causing people's hearts to beat wildly. There was another world underground. Lin Feng accidentally entered it. He did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse. In the middle of the prison, the magical crystal dimmed and a figure that seemed real and illusory appeared. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide in shock. The figure was wearing the purple crystal armor. A purple ribbon with auspicious clouds was tied around his waist. He was wearing the battle star boot. His hair stood up like thunder. He had a burly figure and a domineering aura. He looked exactly the same as the overlord Xiang Yu, who was fighting fiercely in the valley. The only thing missing was the 9 Serenities' thunderblade. Overlord! Xiang Yu? Lin Feng was stunned. He looked at Lin Feng disdainfully as if he was looking at an ant. Xiang Yu sneered, "Kid, your blade is too weak." "My blade is weak?" Lin Feng was stunned. He smiled bitterly. In the current ancient Huaxia, his saber art was indeed at the grandmaster level. However, there was always someone better than him. There were not many experts who had reached the 5th stage of the saber art. However, in the past, there were many heroes and capable people. Martial arts experts, not to mention others, just Senior Fu Hongshue's attainment in blade art was far superior to his. The current overlord Xiang Yu was the ancestor of blade arts. What is a blade? The overlord of weapons. Driving hatred away is a small Dao. Lin Feng was stunned. Every word was sonorous and deafening, falling straight into his heart. Priceless advice. Did I get the wrong impression? Lin Feng closed his eyes and recalled what he saw in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. He had a deep impression of Fu Hongshue's saber. The rapid increase in the realm of his saber technique was indeed a factor of hatred. Irenjie Isun. Manla unknowingly, his comprehension of the saber was no longer pure. Thinking back to when he was young, other people either used fists or swords, but he was the only one who had a soft spot for sabers. Why? Unyielding, domineering. Thirst for challenge, thirst for battle, and thirst to become stronger. Use the blade in your hand to shatter fate. Heart. It was as if he had returned to the past. He returned to the time when he was purely practicing the saber. Bit by bit, the sharpening went straight to his heart, like rainwater nourishing dry land. At this moment, the 9 nether thunderblades attack suddenly appeared in Lin Feng's mind. Spring thunder rumbled, peerlessly tyrannical, as if it was going to split the sky. Bang, bang, bang. His heart was beating wildly. Lin Feng widened his eyes. Clang. He pulled out the tiger roar saber. With an incomparable domineering aura, Lin Feng moved. His body moved and his heart moved. The man and the saber were in perfect harmony. In this space filled with pressure, he had a much deeper understanding than in the outside world. As if breaking the shackles and breaking the cage, the spirit energy was everywhere. Lin Feng's saber intent was amazing. In an instant, he was enlightened. Xiang Yu smiled. There was no more sneer in his smile. Whoosh! A ray of light flashed through the fantasy crystal. Xiang Yu frowned slightly, glanced at Lin Feng and then disappeared. Practicing the saber. The purest form of the saber. It was a saber that only wanted to become stronger. As Lin Feng kept waving it, the feeling of the tiger roar saber was also constantly changing. The pressure produced by the prison space was like a mountain, which aroused the endless saber intent. Unyielding, domineering, breaking the shackles. Lin Feng's foundation of the saber was very strong. In addition, his talent spirit had reached the 4th stage. He understood it immediately. He did not use the flaming saber or take revenge. He just kept repeating the most basic saber moves. Chop, 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 descend. Returning to the essence, he turned back the path that he had taken. Mistakes and failures would not waste time. As long as one walked down a path, there would be gains. My saber. It lacks the domineering aura of no one but me. He kept practicing. He kept comprehending. Lin Feng felt that his strength was rapidly increasing. His saber techniques were well prepared. In the valley, the dragon-killing island lord and the overlord, Xiang Yu, were fighting fiercely. 7th layer, Indigo Sea. The dragon-killing island lord's hands were like waves. The Indigo Sea formed a huge momentum. The strength of the 9 Nether Thunder Saber was beyond his expectations. The strong and shocking explosive force was endless. Overwhelming momentum. Rolling wave stance. The dragon-killing island lord used all his strength. However, he only tied with the overlord, Xiang Yu. His expression was somewhat unsightly. Boom! The dragon-killing island lord clenched his teeth. The violent force of thunder and lightning seeped into his black armor and absorbed more than half of it. After a series of battles, he was already at a disadvantage. Damn it! If I had learned the 8th layer, Golden Dawn, I would have won. The dragon-killing island lord clenched his teeth. He had only learned the first 7 layers of the Super Heaven-class Heart Sutra, Book of the Chaos. After that, he betrayed the Z family and did not learn the last 3 layers. There were 2 volumes of the 9 Dragons scripture. Unfortunately, the middle volume was not there and he could not cultivate it. As for the Sunflower Manual, it was not suitable for him. The more he fought, the more frightened he became. Although he was not as desperate as those Sea King level experts, the dragon-killing island lord was still somewhat fearful. His strength could not win against the 9 Nether Thunder Saber. Just the power of the Thunder Saber and not the real Xiang Yu, but it is already so powerful. The dragon-killing island lord was shocked. At this moment, the valley was exceptionally lively. In addition to the Sea King level experts, more than half of the Savage level experts had gathered. A cold glint flashed across the dragon-killing island lord's eyes. At this moment, the illusory figure of the overlord, Xiang Yu, was only half as bright as before. Its strength was also being depleted. Swish! The dragon-killing island lord attracted the attacks of the 9 Serenity's Thunder Saber and swiftly made his way into the crowd of Savage-level experts. In an instant, the place was in chaos. Boom! Rumble! The power of the Thunder Saber was boundless and each strike was powerful. No matter how powerful it would run out eventually. The dragon-killing island lord's move was quite sinister. After all, the 9 Serenity's Thunder Saber was only a sage treasure and did not have true intelligence. The valley was filled with thunder and lightning. In an instant, countless Savage-level experts died under the saber. The 9 Serenity's Thunder Saber's ruthless aura grew stronger. Boom! The power of the Thunder Saber intensified again. The dragon-killing island lord's lips curled into a cold smile. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically as he looked into the distance. His eyes widened and became bloodshot. A bright light flashed. It was the same thunder celestial phenomenon. A figure in martial attire was holding the 8 trigrams of the universe. Infinite body of the universe. The 5th move, Thunder 9th Heaven. He was here. The guardian of ancient Huaxia, the 2nd most powerful expert in the world. The true martial emperor. Chapter 218. Connate Universe Technique. Using the power of yin and yang, he absorbed the energy of heaven and earth for his own use. At boom. Palm against saber. Lightning against lightning. The 9 Serenity Thunder Saber, which had always been overbearing, was finally defeated. Its pure strength was completely suppressed. Even though the true martial emperor did not wear a defensive sacred treasure like the dragon-killing island lord, his infinite universe technique was already as strong as an ordinary sacred treasure. A true expert, even if he did not rely on external items, he was still incomparably strong. Pung! The lightning dispersed, and a large amount of lightning energy shot out in all directions. The aftershocks of a battle between legend experts were extremely powerful. However, at this moment, figures in martial attire arrived with the true martial emperor. Bai Jie, Ziyushu, Luo Wanjun, Ming Pengkuan, and the 4 Sea King level experts of the true martial dojo had gathered. Whoosh! Zikue's expression changed. The 6th move, Reverse Universe. The true martial emperor attacked again. Infinite power exploded, using softness to overcome hardness. Then, the lightning energy shot out, causing the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber to be severely injured and fall down. At this moment, the Overlord Xiang Yu's body was half hidden and half transparent, as if he was dying. However, the true martial emperor did not show any mercy. Instead, his attacks were even more powerful. The 7th move, Shake Heaven and Earth. Boom! 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 The true martial emperor attacked from midair. The strength of a high-level legend expert was fully displayed. The Overlord Xiang Yu, who had defeated the dragon-killing island lord, did not even have the strength to fight back. The true martial emperor's palm energy shot out like a cannonball, shocking heaven and earth. The terrifying spiritual chi directly shattered the flames of the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber. The image of the Overlord Xiang Yu disappeared instantly. The heavenly vision completely stopped, and the night sky returned to normal. The remaining lightning energy lingered in the air, and it was silent. Everyone stared blankly at the man in martial attire, as if they were looking at a god. Their eyes were filled with respect. 3 moves. In just 3 moves, he had completely subdued the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber. A godlike man. Humph! The dragon-killing island lord's eyes were fierce. Resentment. Jealousy. He looked at the true martial emperor with complicated emotions, and his face was pale. Although he had not fought the true martial emperor head-on, the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber was close at hand. However, the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber was far away. Regardless of whether it was a mid-level or high-level sacred treasure, they no longer belonged to him. Let's go. The dragon-killing island lord turned around and left with a pale face. Whoosh! Zikue followed closely behind. He turned around and stared at the true martial emperor with a feminine gaze. Doubt flashed in his eyes. Master needs to recuperate. I'll have to trouble everyone to leave. Ziyushu shouted. Bai Jie lowered his head and clasped his palms together as he chanted the Buddhist scriptures. He had never been this pious before. If one were to take a closer look, one would notice that his hands were trembling slightly. We're going to stand guard for Master. I hope everyone will cooperate, Luo Wanjun said softly. Ming Pengkuan's face was ugly, and he had the face of a villain. He roared, "Go away! Get out of my way! What are you looking at?" His eyes were even bigger than copper bells. The 2 fists collided, bringing about a tyrannical force. If you don't leave now, don't blame me for being impolite. The 4 Sea King rank powerhouses each took a corner. The surrounding people retreated one after another, although they were somewhat puzzled. However, most of them were very cooperative. The few who were not used to the tyranny of the real martial arts dojo only muttered a few words. After that, they left one by one. The entire valley gradually quieted down, but it was the silence was frightening. Whoosh! A Sea King rank fighter jet streaked across the sky. Inside the fighter jet, it was the ashen-faced dragon-killing island lord and Zikue, who was rubbing his fingers together with a sharp gaze. "Father," Zikue said, "do you find it strange?" Dragon-killing island lord was still immersed in the previous battle, and his heart was filled with resentment. He was only 1 step away from the 9 Serenity's Thunder Blade. That old man, true martial, did not wear the holy treasure, Taiji Daoist robe, Zikue said. What's the difference between wearing and not wearing it to him? Dragon-killing island lord frowned and asked. Not necessarily. Zikue looked at his father. That old man, true martial, could not have known the power of the Nine Serenities Thunderblade beforehand. If the Nine Serenities Thunderblade is comparable to a high-level titled powerhouse, or if it explodes after a breakthrough, or if Xiang Yu's soul is not destroyed, what's the point of such a situation? Dragon-killing island lord was deep in thought. Even a lion had to go all out to hunt a rabbit. No powerhouse would give up his defense voluntarily. Also, Zikue's eyes flashed. Father, did you notice that true martial had already won the battle when he used the second palm? He did not need to expend so much energy to use the strongest seventh move of the innate Qiankuan technique. Zikue shook his head. True martial is not a show-off. There must be a reason. That makes sense. Dragon-killing island lord looked at his son. What do you think is the reason? Zikue frowned slightly. I don't know for now. Underground, Lin Feng was still practicing his blade. Invisible restraints and strong oppressive forces made this place seem like a hellish prison filled with danger. It was extremely challenging. His comprehension was getting deeper and deeper. Especially in the previous battle with the Nine Serenities Thunderblade, he had experienced it personally. His comprehension of the blade will and the breakthrough of the blade realm. Lin Feng, who was performing the basic blade moves, unconsciously simulated the blade move of the Spring Thunder Riot. It was concise and bright. There seemed to be a cold sneer in the air. Although Lin Feng's blade was domineering, it was very difficult for him to simulate this blade move based on his memory. His heart moved with his blade. Lin Feng did not mind. At this moment, his blade realm was rather free to do as he pleased. Suddenly, a scene appeared in front of him. It was a huge palace. The surroundings were filled with messy blade marks of different lengths and depth. They were on the metal walls, the ground, and even the soaring dragon stone pillars that supported the palace. In particular, there was an empty space in the middle of one of the soaring dragon stone pillars, the mausoleum of the Qin Emperor. Wow! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Boom! A figure suddenly appeared in his mind. He held a battle blade and looked like a peerless god of war. Spiritual energy was poured into his blade. The battle blade was like a ferocious beast roaring. It exploded with a monstrous force, destroying everything in the palace, especially the blade move that cut the soaring dragon stone pillars. It was extremely familiar. Bang! 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 Lin Feng's heart beat faster. That blurry figure, that face, and that battle blade, at this moment, they were pieced together like fragments. A purple light flashed on his body. The battle blade in his hand flashed with ferocious lightning. The hair that stood up like lightning, the tall and sturdy figure, and the domineering aura that soared to the sky. Wasn't that Overlord Xiang Yu? Boom! That blade move was concise and bright. It was naturally domineering. The strength of the body and the domineering blade intent were perfectly combined. It ignored all the rules of the world and wantonly destroyed the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. Unknowingly, Lin Feng's blade changed. It was more domineering, more carefree, and more concise. It was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. It was like a bolt from the blue. Even the power of lightning was faintly flashing in the blade aura. The voice in the air was slightly surprised. From the initial sneer and disdain to the later indifference and coldness, at this moment it had quietly changed. Chapter 219. In the valley. 4 figures stood upright. The true martial emperor was in the middle. The Nine Serenity Thunderblade was lying quietly on the ground, no longer as domineering as before. Wu-Wu, the ugly dark Pingkuan's tears fell down like a child as it wailed loudly. Snot and tears mixed together, making its ugly face even more unsightly. At this moment, he did not look like a Sea King-level expert. Luo Wanjun kept sobbing with her head lowered. She bit her lips so hard that they turned purple. Amit ba. Bai Jie clasped his hands together, letting his tears fall and drip onto his monk robe. Alright, don't cry anymore. Ziyushu wiped away his tears and swallowed his sobs. His handsome face was incomparably tough. What did Master teach us? Put the country first. Put the bigger picture first. Don't you feel ashamed crying like this? Clenching his fists, Ziyushu trembled violently and gritted his teeth. Second senior brother. Ming Pengkuan was sobbing uncontrollably. Come, pull yourself together. We have to fulfill Master's last wish, Ziyushu said with a trembling voice. The figure that stood proudly did not fall. He was indifferent like a stone statue, but he had already exhausted all his strength and had no signs of life. He was the pillar of ancient Huaxia, the spiritual leader. Because of his existence, ancient Huaxia could stand at the top of the world without fear of other countries. The true martial emperor. This was a godlike man. But it was because of Gu Yi's departure. Pengkuan, Wanjun, go and patrol the surroundings. Bai Jie finally raised his head. As the eldest senior brother, he had to bear the responsibility no matter how painful it was. Just like Master, even if his life was in danger, he still did what he had to do and what he had to do. Yushu, take care of Master's body. I'll go get the Thunderblade. Bai Jie's footsteps were heavy. Everyone's grief was written all over their faces. Each of them was taught and promoted by the true martial emperor. The true martial emperor treated them not only as master but also as a father. Their emotions came from their hearts and were incomparably sincere. Eldest senior brother. Ziyushu's voice was hoarse. Master's death must be kept a secret. Bai Jie said in a low voice, if this leaks out, not only our true martial dojo, but even the entire ancient Huaxia, it might collapse. Ziyushu nodded. I understand. The true martial emperor was the true pillar of ancient Huaxia. It had an irreplaceable role. Once the news of his death spread out, not only would it cause an earthquake and panic in the entire ancient Huaxia, it would also cause the greed and ambition of the other 6 great ancient nations to erupt. The Great War at the beginning of the war martial era was very likely. It was activated once again. Who is it? Ziyushu's handsome face was extremely malevolent. Who was the one who did this to injure Master to such an extent? I'm not sure. Bai Jie sighed. The two of them looked at each other with deep fear in their eyes. Their thoughts happened to coincide. With hatred. He activated the saber move, hatred. Xiao Chen used tyranny to drive the Purple Thunder Saber technique. Although Lin Feng had never truly learned the Purple Thunder Saber technique, its form was only in his memory. It was the only saber strike that clashed head-on with the 9 Nether Thunder Saber. It was impossible for him to learn it. However, the intricate saber marks in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum allowed Lin Feng to completely immerse himself in the concept of the Purple Thunder Saber technique. The concept of a saber technique was basically the same. Like the water of a river, or clear. It could be turbid or continuous, but the essence would not change. And the saber intent in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum was the most profound. Lin Feng's comprehension was the clearest, and it was the dragon stone pillar that cut through the sky. It was like a carving, leaving a part of the saber intent above. With the initial understanding of the saber intent, coupled with the tyrannical comprehension of the saber energy, Lin Feng's saber continued to transform. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, time passed slowly. Lin Feng's saber was improving day by day. Now, his saber technique was naturally tyrannical. Although it was still not as tyrannical as Xiang Yu's, it was already Lin Feng's own realm. Compared to before, when he used hatred to drive the saber, it was much more majestic and majestic. From the small fork in the road, he returned to the true path of saber technique. Break! Lin Feng roared. A trace of electric power surged. The simple and bright saber strike was supplemented by his strongest explosive power. Boom! It directly broke through that invisible barrier. Ripples spread out. Although it did not break through the barrier, it was several times stronger than the saber strike from 3 days ago. Lin Feng's gaze was intense. In that instant, he circulated the 9 dragons scripture, and spiritual energy erupted. Although Lin Feng's titanium-grade body had disappeared long ago, his current attack was even stronger than his strongest strike from 3 days ago. The spring thunder roared, and the electric power in his body surged out. Even if it was just a tiny bit, it had strong destructive power. Bang! 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 The saber energy was endless. Lin Feng was like a vent, testing his saber, and erupting. However, the invisible barrier rippled. Although the commotion was more than 10 times stronger than before, it was like throwing a pebble into a lake, the difference between a rock and a pebble. It was useless. Don't waste your energy. The voice was indifferent and went straight into his ears. Lin Feng stopped and looked at his hands. A hint of joy flashed in his eyes. He turned around and saw the Overlord Xiang Yu's virtual image. He bowed and said, "Thank you for your guidance, Senior. You comprehended it yourself. What does it have to do with me?" Xiang Yu smiled coldly. Lin Feng shook his head. Senior is a true master of saber technique. Although it was just a casual remark, every word was a gem. This junior has benefited greatly. It was not empty words. What kind of person was Xiang Yu? His saber techniques had long reached perfection. A casual remark from him was far better than years of hard work. It could save him a lot of detours. Xiang Yu sneered. "Kid, you know how to talk," Lin Feng said seriously. "Junior's words come from the bottom of my heart." "All right, stop flattering me." Xiang Yu did not show his joy or anger. He stared at Lin Feng. "Let me ask you, where did you learn this Spring Thunder Fury?" "Spring Thunder Fury?" Lin Feng muttered and looked at Xiang Yu. "This is the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber." Xiang Yu's eyes lit up. "How is the Thunder Saber now?" "I don't know." Lin Feng looked at the Overlord Xiang Yu in front of him. He was full of doubts. Why did the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber appear alone when Xiang Yu was here? There was also this strange prison, crystal, and an inexplicably strong restrictive force. There were too many things that he did not understand. Seeing Xiang Yu looking at him with a burning gaze, Lin Feng repeated the whole process of him being severely injured by the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber and finding his way here. Xiang Yu nodded. "You're smart." Xiang Yu sneered. "But this time, I'm afraid you're too smart for your own good. I've been locked in this broken place for more than 2,000 years. I can't get out even if I want to. You're good. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it." Xiang Yu laughed wildly. His laughter was wanton and arrogant. His eyes were wide open. "Wait for your death here, kid." After saying that, Xiang Yu's figure disappeared. Lin Feng's expression changed. Chapter 220. The impact was huge. Lin Feng frowned slightly and his face turned pale. His injuries had not healed completely. He had used up too much of his spiritual energy, and he had been practicing with the saber for 3 days straight. He looked haggard. He closed his eyes and recalled the entire process. Lin Feng's mind was clear. Although he did not know how much of what Xiang Yu said was true, he was sure of one thing. This was not a dangerous place. Since the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber could leave, why couldn't he? However, it was also true that Xiang Yu was trapped here. He did not seem to have a physical body. He was just a soul. Lin Feng opened his eyes and looked at the strange magical crystal. He did not dare to linger for fear that he would fall into the trap again. Xiang Yu did not save him every time. This crystal, could it be the resting place of Xiang Yu's soul? Lin Feng thought. This would explain why Xiang Yu could wake him up. But what was this circle of strange gossips around him? What was the invisible energy shield? Why can the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber leave, but not Xiang Yu? Lin Feng thought to himself. There must be some secrets that he did not know. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. His head was heavy. The restraints around him were constantly pressing down on him. That feeling was very uncomfortable. Let me eat something first. Recover my physical strength, spiritual energy, and spiritual energy. I'll plan slowly. Lin Feng thought to himself that he was lucky. Fortunately, he had stored enough hardtack in the crystal watch. Otherwise, he would have starved to death. The space storage could be used. However, the crystal watch lost its function again. Magnetic field. What a strong magnetic field here. Lin Feng thought to himself. The magnetic field here was more than 100 times stronger than the mausoleum of the Qin Emperor. No matter how advanced the crystal watch was, it could not be used normally. Lin Feng was helpless. This meant that he could not use the crystal watch to contact the outside world. However, he had thought of the worst possibility. Fortunately, mother and son can sense life and death. Lin Feng took out the hardtack. Mother and son shared the same bloodline. Using a special method, they could communicate telepathically. If the mother could sense that the elder brother's life was not in danger, she could also sense that she was safe. However, Ling was inevitably worried, and so were his mother and sister. Thinking of this, Lin Feng could only sigh in his heart. There's always a way out. There must be a way. Soon, he was full. Lin Feng immediately sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate his spiritual energy. Spiritual energy was absorbed in a split second, gushing out like a spring. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. His absorption speed was unbelievable. The surrounding pressure that made him feel extremely uncomfortable turned into extremely pure spiritual energy and spiritual energy when it entered his body. His cultivation speed was even faster than when he was in the man-made pyramid. It's like the absorption of the lightning pearl. Lin Feng thought to himself. He couldn't care less about that. What he needed to do now was to recover his strength. Dragon Murder Island. Father. Zikuei stood quietly. Have you found it? The dragon-killing island lord slowly opened his eyes. Zikuei nodded. Lin Feng is undoubtedly a descendant of the Ji family. He is also Lin Zhan's younger brother from 2 years ago. Humph, I lost one and another one came. The dragon-killing island lord stood up. It seems that even the heavens want me to obtain the 9 dragons scripture. As he spoke, his eyes turned sharp. He was furious. If not for the Heart Sutra, I would definitely have been able to subdue the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. This old man got lucky. The dragon-killing island lord ground his teeth like a ferocious beast. Father, after the battle with the 9 Serenity Thunderblade, Ji family disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng mysteriously disappeared, Zikuei said. The dragon-killing island lord said furiously. Find out who the Ji family is even if you have to turn the world upside down. Also, what are you doing? Dragon-killing island suffered heavy losses in this battle. 1/3 of our savage experts were killed or injured. Have you found out who did it? Don't worry, father. Zikuei's eyes were cold. Find out who stabbed me in the back. I will make him beg for death. Beg for death. Elemental Merchant Alliance. Ha ha! Good job. This time, Dragon-Killing Island has suffered a double loss. All the Alliance Chiefs and Alliance Chiefs were gathered in the hall with smiles on their faces. Indeed, the true martial arts practice hall, which had obtained the 9 Serenity Thunderblade, had gained the most. However, the Elemental Alliance came in second. Not only had they obtained the 9th Thunderbolt Pearl, but they had also secretly killed dozens of savage experts from Dragon-Killing Island. It was a shocking number. This was close to the number of savage experts that any of the 8 big families had. Even though Dragon-Killing Island was one of the 5 magnates, it was still a great loss. Compared to what Dragon-Killing Island did to us, this is far from enough. That's right. Our Elemental Business Alliance was killed by the Dragon-Killing Island. Not to mention the savage-level experts, we even lost 2 business leaders. Everyone was indignant. They had been tolerating this for too long. I'm afraid we won't be able to hide this, Suku said. Dragon-killing island is not stupid. I believe Yi Fan and Han Fei will be exposed soon. There's nothing to be afraid of. Han Fei smiled. We didn't have the right to fight with Dragon-killing island before, but now, as long as the Lord of Dragon-killing island doesn't show up, Brother Lin can take care of Zikue alone. Yi Fan smiled. As long as the true martial emperor is around, the Lord of Dragon-killing island won't dare to be arrogant, including the sect leader of the Brahmin sect. Even if the news of Brother Lin killing Manla spreads, it doesn't matter. The 8 protectors of the Brahmin sect may not be as powerful as the alliance chiefs of the 3 alliance chief. A legend expert. Basically, they were as powerful as a nuclear bomb. All the countries had a tacit agreement that legend experts wouldn't participate in ordinary conflict. Therefore, the Elemental Alliance wasn't worried. After the battle with the 9 Serenity Thunderblade, Lin Feng's name had spread far and wide. He was known as the strongest alliance chief and was comparable to the twin stars of Huaxia. But why isn't Lin Feng back yet? Jiang Wufeng frowned. He should be fine, right? Xia Rufeng was the most worried. Don't worry. Yi Fan smiled. With Alliance Envoy Lin's strength, other than the top 10 experts in the world, no one can threaten him. Everyone smiled. In the underground prison, Lin Feng was cultivating day and night. The rich spiritual power and spiritual qi not only increased his strength but also healed his injuries. He didn't need spiritual power liquid. The absorption of spiritual power was enough to keep his body in a state of saturation. Putting other things aside, this place was definitely a holy place for cultivation. However, it was troublesome that he couldn't get out. Moreover, Lin Feng was confused about everything here. He had no idea. Phew! Lin Feng stood up. His injuries were almost healed, but for the past 2 days, it was as if the overlord Xiang Yu had suddenly disappeared. No matter how much he called him senior, he didn't respond. Lin Feng knew that if he wanted to get out alone, it was too difficult. He had to rely on the overlord Xiang Yu. Not to mention his strength, the fact that he had lived here for more than 2,000 years meant that he wasn't ordinary. He was much more familiar with this place than he was. It's a headache if he doesn't want to come out. What can I do? Lin Feng was deep in thought. Chapter 221. Ever since I entered, the overlord Xiang Yu has only appeared twice. %%%%%. The first time was when I used the blade technique Enmity. The second time was when I used the blade technique Spring Thunderstorm. Lin Feng nodded his head. He roughly understood the temperament of the overlord Xiang Yu. He was not an ordinary person. He was like a blade, extremely domineering, arrogant, and did not put anyone in his eyes. In his eyes. Indeed, he was nothing. They had just met and did not have any friendship. They could not even be considered to have gone through thick and thin together. At most, they were just cellmates. Lin Feng laughed in his heart. Clang! The tiger roar battle blade in his hand moved. Lin Feng closed his eyes and focused his mind. Xiang Yu, the overlord, was unmoved by force or persuasion. It was indeed not easy to lure him out using ordinary methods, but he was a true expert. Any expert who wanted to reach the level of the overlord Xiang Yu must have the heart of an expert. They must have an incomparable desire and passion to become stronger. It was the same for him. Flaming blade. Lin Feng moved. The same flaming blade, but at this moment it had a different concept. It was as if the same skin had 2 different souls. Although the flaming blade in the past had endless power, it was average. It lacked a bit of spirit. But now it was extremely domineering. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Feng's blade technique followed his heart. When he waved the blade technique, it was more domineering and less rigid. The power of the blazing flames and lightning condensed and shot out in all directions. In a split second, Lin Feng entered his blade training mode, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Although it was to attract the overlord Xiang Yu, Lin Feng was also really training his blade technique. Originally, he had a special feeling for the blade. His desire to become stronger had never wavered. The blood of unyielding and challenge flowed in his body. Lin Feng did not believe in fate. He only believed in strength. He believed that there was always a way, as long as he was strong enough. Then, he must be able to break out of this prison. Xiang Yu could not do it, but it did not mean that he could not. Sparks flew, accumulating firewood to build a fire. Blazing thunder. Each move of Lin Feng's saber was stronger than the previous one. Although he did not condense the power of titanium and did not use his titanium body, his current attack was comparable to the battle with the 9 hidden Thunderblade. Not long after entering the underground prison, Lin Feng's saber had already changed. Not only had his saber realm improved to the peak of the 5th stage, but he had also vaguely comprehended the meaning of the Overlord saber. Xiang Yu's figure appeared with a swoosh. The light from the fantasy crystal was weak. Its domineering eyes stared at Lin Feng, containing a different emotion. Thinking back to the past. He also practiced his saber in the same way day after day, year after year. The realm of the saber was boundless and limitless. But now there was a hint of loneliness on Xiang Yu's face. A hero past his prime, he looked at Lin Feng with a complicated gaze and snorted coldly. In an instant, he disappeared again. The Qinling Mountains gradually calmed down. One family was happy while the other was sad. The various factions that had allied with the military had benefited greatly. The first bank of Huaxia had barely managed to break even. The worst off was the dragon-killing island, who had suffered a double loss. The military. There was a 5th marshal. The limelight had even overshadowed the real martial dojo. Although 9 lightning pearls had appeared, the number of Sea King-level powerhouses in ancient Huaxia did not change much. In the Battle of the 9 Serenities Thunder Saber, 2 Sea King-level powerhouses had died, and many were seriously injured. As for the Savage-level powerhouses, the number of deaths, it was even harder to count. This matter must not be leaked, Zhou Jingyi said solemnly. We understand, Ziyushu said in a low voice. But the other party plotted to kill Master. They must have a backup plan. Marshal Jingyi, please be more vigilant, Bai Jie said in a low voice. Zhou Jingyi nodded. After sending off the 4 from the real martial dojo, sitting alone in the empty meeting room, Zhou Jingyi clenched his fists, his face pale. He had only admired one person in his life, and that was the true martial emperor, who truly served the country and the people. Hearing the bad news, no matter how strong his mental fortitude was, he could not bear the sadness in his heart. Boom! A fist landed heavily on the superalloy table. Crack! The entire superalloy table collapsed, just like Zhou Jingyi's heart. He knew very well what the death of the true martial emperor meant. We must not give up. Zhou Jingyi stood up, his eyes filled with determination. There must be a way. The only thing we can do now is to find a new pillar. Otherwise, once the news spreads. Zhou Jingyi's eyes were filled with worry. Not to mention Country M and the European Union, I'm afraid that India and Babylon will bare their fangs and claws. And the Lord of Dragon-Killing Island has always been ambitious. Zhou Jingyi's face turned ugly. He knew very well that ancient Huaxia was on the edge of a cliff. In the underground prison, Lin Feng practiced for 3 days and 3 nights. He had already comprehended the 4th move of the flaming saber, blazing thunder, before the battle with the 9 Serenities Thunder Saber. Now that he had fully comprehended the saber intent, the power of the blazing thunder saber was no longer the same as before. Not to mention that Lin Feng's saber art had improved again. When he went back to comprehend the first 4 moves of the flaming saber, the saber intent was like threading a needle. He had also comprehended the last move, Mountain of Knives and Sea of Flames. This speed of comprehension was far faster than normal. Lin Feng had no choice but to accept the overlord Xiang Yu's words. Mountain of knives and sea of flames. Lin Feng swung his saber like a celestial soldier. Infinite saber force mixed with the power of flames was majestic, as if it was going to break the invisible shield. However, ripples appeared, but it still had no effect. He was not disappointed, because this was within his expectations. Finally, I did it. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. After fully comprehending the flaming saber technique, not only did his strength increase slightly, his comprehension of the saber realm had also reached a higher level. He had already faintly touched the edge of the 6th level of the saber technique and had no choice but to fight the 9 serene lightning saber. It had benefited him a lot. What a pity! Lin Feng sighed. In the past 3 days, he had glanced at the fantasy crystal several times, but he did not see Xiang Yu. All of his plans fell through once again. Xiang Yu is not interested in the saber? Lin Feng instantly rejected the idea. A saber master who had reached the peak of the saber art realm would undoubtedly be interested in the saber. Am I too weak? Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Suddenly, the fantasy crystal dimmed, and the overlord Xiang Yu reappeared. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Senior, Lin Feng said respectfully. Don't talk nonsense. Xiang Yu's cold and domineering eyes looked over. I know what you are thinking, brat. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. Senior, please tell me. Lin Feng was also decisive. There is no free lunch in the world. I can help you. Xiang Yu revealed a faint smile, his eyes bright. But you have to pass my test first. Lin Feng did not hesitate. I accept. Good, you are a straightforward man. Xiang Yu's eyes flashed with admiration. He pointed at the lava below. Go down. Chapter 222. Go down? Lin Feng was also stunned. Not to mention the scorching magma below, if he could go down, it would mean that he could escape from this energy shield. At that time, how difficult would it be to control the flying sword and leave this place? But what kind of person was Xiang Yu? Since he had spoken, he would not speak without thinking. Swish. Xiang Yu's eyes lit up. I will only ask you one question. Do you dare or not? Xiang Yu's voice was domineering. Lin Feng stared at the peerless figure in front of him. A legend-level expert. Even after death, his soul would still exist. Looking at the history of ancient Huaxia, Xiang Yu was one of the best. I dare. Lin Feng said. Xiang Yu's eyes shone. Aren't you afraid that I will harm you? Lin Feng laughed heartily. Senior, you are a hero. Why would you use such petty tricks? Looking at Xiang Yu, Lin Feng said seriously, Senior, although you are indifferent to me, you are the one who woke me up and gave me pointers. I trust you. Lin Feng was speaking from the bottom of his heart. If Xiang Yu wanted to harm him, with his strength, he would not need to do so. He could have just let him be attracted by the fantasy crystal and not help him. Moreover, he was Xiang Yu, the conqueror. If he had so many schemes, he would not have lost to Liu Bang. Good. Xiang Yu nodded. You chose your own path. If you go to hell in the future, don't blame me. His voice was sonorous and powerful. Suddenly, Lin Feng's heart trembled as he felt a terrifying force. Spiritual power. Lin Feng was shocked. He could feel a shocking amount of spiritual power from Xiang Yu. It was far beyond his own and even Zi Kuei's. In the air, a pair of invisible hands appeared. Lin Feng felt suffocated. In an instant, the power of titanium condensed. Titanium-grade body. His body changed rapidly. Lin Feng's expression was serious. He did not know what Xiang Yu was going to do. But he had to be prepared. Pung! Pung! A strong pressure came. It came from above, far surpassing the surroundings, as if two different spaces had appeared. Lin Feng did not pay attention to Xiang Yu. At this time, Xiang Yu's expression was not as normal as before. It was obvious that it was quite strenuous for him. Down. Xiangyu's eyes lit up as his aura surged. Bang! A muffled groan. Lin Feng felt an endless pressure in his chest, as if his entire body was being pressed down by a huge mountain. But in an instant, the pressure from above his head lightened, and Lin Feng took a deep breath. He raised his head in shock, only to find that he had escaped from the underground prison. No way? Lin Feng looked around and couldn't help but smile bitterly. They didn't separate, as if they were inextricably linked, like a small boat tied to a large ship. Around him was a mini barrier of invisible energy like a bubble. The space was only big enough for him to sit cross-legged. Even getting up was a luxury. What? Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. As soon as the crushing force of Mount Tai disappeared, the area below him became scorching hot. Bubbles. It was sinking bit by bit. Xiang Yu's face was pale. At this time, the light of the fantasy crystal was restored little by little, and Xiang Yu's figure slowly dimmed. Time. Not much. Whether you are a dragon or a snake depends on your own fortune. Xiang Yu's eyes were cold. If you are unlucky and die here, don't blame me for being cruel. In the future, you will die too. His voice was like clouds and mist. As Xiang Yu's figure disappeared, Lin Feng could no longer hear him. Ruthless spectrum. Lin Feng instantly protected his whole body. On his forehead, sweat dripped down and his back was completely soaked. In less than 10 seconds, he had entered the magma. The tongues of fire danced wildly, like poisonous snakes making shrill cries, madly biting. Faintly, there seemed to be something blocking this layer of magma. The invisible force could not be seen, the tangible. Only the boiling flames. The temperature was high, far beyond imagination. These were all expected. What really surprised Lin Feng was the invisible energy shield. A small bubble could withstand such a terrifying flame. The temperature of the magma can kill a savage-level powerhouse. No, a Sea King-level powerhouse. Lin Feng pursed his lips tightly. Although there was a bubble blocking, he could still feel the incomparable heat. Fortunately, there was a spiritual power protection, otherwise, even if he was not burned to ashes, he would die of dehydration. Splash! The bubble completely sank into the magma. There was no color around, except for flames and magma. Lin Feng's heart pounded. He still did not understand the Overlord Xiang Yu's intention. What was the purpose of him sending him into the magma? To test his courage? Lin Feng instantly rejected. Facing a life and death test? Lin Feng thought, with Xiang Yu's strength, why would it be so troublesome? In his mind, various thoughts emerged. Lin Feng still could not find the answer, but his spiritual power was constantly being consumed. Gently exhaling, Lin Feng instantly adjusted his mind and closed his eyes. Since he was here, he might as well take it easy. Ruthless Spectrum, 3rd level. 9 Dragons Scripture, 5th level. Lin Feng began to cultivate. There was no problem with multitasking, cultivating both spiritual power and spiritual power at the same time, greatly increasing his strength and mind. But this time, Lin Feng took a deep breath. As soon as he started cultivating the 9 Dragons Scripture, a shocking flame essence entered his body. Scorch! Scorch! Once the flame energy entered his body, it was like a dragon coming out of the sea. The meridians, cells, and skin in his body were all damaged. Lin Feng's forehead sweated even more, showing a painful expression. Spiritual power entered his body, bombarding the flame energy. It was an unexpected disaster. It lasted for a full 10 minutes. Lin Feng was sweating profusely, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Too scary. Lin Feng secretly praised his luck. If he did not stop cultivating the 9 Dragons Scripture quickly and absorb more flame energy, he would have really ignited the fire. Even controlling spiritual power to heal his body, Lin Feng's eyes shone slightly. It was very similar. It has the same effect as the lightning energy. Lin Feng compared in his heart. It was the same power of nature, and it was equally tyrannical. When it entered the body, it was also wildly destructive and tempering. Could it be this was the Overlord Xiang Yu's goal? Lin Feng was deep in thought. The possibility is very high. If this flame energy is really like the lightning energy, absorbing it will be of great help to my strength. 3 lightning pearls, 3 bolts of lightning power. Even though he almost died when he absorbed the first lightning bolt, the result was still gratifying. Later on, when the lightning energy's tempering effect weakened, he did not pay much attention to it. After consuming the crouching eagle lightning network tendons, the cells in his body surged with lightning energy, shocking him. Even the slightest trace of the power of thunder and lightning was extremely powerful. If he had the lightning energy like the 9 Underworld Thunderblade, the power would be endless. Senior Xiangyu. Seems like he wants to increase my strength. Therefore, he wants me to absorb the flame energy. Lin Feng was grateful. To break out of this prison, he needed to be extremely powerful. Senior Xiangyu had put in a lot of effort. Chapter 223. Absorbing the power of the flame. Lin Feng would not use the 5th layer of the 9 Dragons scripture to absorb the energy. Lesser phaseless method, 5th level. Lin Feng did not multitask again. At this moment, any negligence could be fatal. Hiss, the weak power of the flame entered his body. The process of tempering his body was not easy. When Lin Feng endured the power of thunder for the first time, he suffered a lot. But this time he was prepared, and it was only a small amount of the power of the flame, so the pain was naturally much lighter. Bang! Bang! The power of the flame flowed in his meridians. Lin Feng clenched his teeth, and his veins were exposed. This time he did not use spiritual energy, but purely endured it with his body. The power of the flame covered his whole body, strengthening his bones, meridians, and cells, and his body absorbed this powerful energy. Lin Feng was no stranger to the process of absorbing the power of thunder. Everything was difficult at the beginning. On the first day, he felt like he was rolling in magma. Every second was torture. On the second day, it was still painful. On the third day, his body gradually began to bear it. The absorption was slower than the power of thunder. But the advantage was that it was safe, stable, and there was no danger. The effect of tempering was not worse than the power of thunder. In addition, the power of the flame was almost endless here. He could absorb it however he wanted. Lin Feng was not worried. However, no. Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes. It's getting hotter. Not only that, the consumption of spiritual energy is also increasing. Lin Feng was shocked. For the first 3 days, his body had been in sharp pain, so he did not notice it. But now that he calmed down, he felt that something was wrong. Looking around, Lin Feng's breathing was a little rapid, and he almost instantly found the reason. The energy of the bubble is decreasing, Lin Feng secretly said. It was different from the energy shield in the prison. The bubble seemed to have no energy supply and was just hanging under the prison. The boiling magma's energy was incomparably tyrannical. The power of the flame contained in it was unimaginable. How could the bubble's energy not be consumed in the magma? Even water droplets could penetrate stone. Senior Xiangyu, what do you mean? Lin Feng frowned. Not to mention that he would be surrounded by the hot magma after the bubble burst. Even if the bubble didn't burst, the terrifying power of the flame would exhaust his spiritual energy defense. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead. Lin Feng pursed his lips and forced himself to calm down. Naturally, Senior Xiangyu would not send him to his death. Perhaps he would save her, but she couldn't place her hopes of survival on someone else. Ignoring everything else, Lin Feng hurriedly made use of the time to cultivate. After tempering his body with the power of fire, his resistance to fire had increased, proving that his method was correct. Then, as you continue to absorb the power of fire, the amount of power stored in your cells will increase. There will definitely be a transformation, Lin Feng thought to himself. That day, he had absorbed the power of 3 bolts of lightning. He could feel the power of thunder and lightning in his cells. Only when he absorbed the crouching eagle lightning network tendons would he have enough lightning energy to truly unleash the power of lightning. This was enough to prove that the power of flames could also be used by him. If he could cultivate to this level like the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber with lightning circling around him, what was there to fear from magma? 9 Dragons Scripture. Level 5. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. At this moment, he had no other choice. Fortunately, his body's endurance was much stronger than the first time. Heartless Spectrum. Lin Feng multitasked. The fantasy crystal dimmed slightly. The Overlord Xiangyu appeared in a flash. His eyes shone with a hint of coldness and pity. His flame aptitude is only above average. In such a short time, even if he has superior aptitude, he can't cultivate flame saint energy. He's destined to die. With a calm expression, the Overlord Xiangyu looked up. His figure gradually faded away. 1 step earlier or 1 step later, there's no difference. Dragon-Killing Island. Lin Feng hasn't appeared yet? The Dragon-Killing Island Lord asked in a low voice. Yes, father. Zikuei smiled softly. This kid is very smart. Knowing that you're targeting him, how would he dare to show up? The Dragon-Killing Island Lord snorted. Let's see how long he can hide. He'll show up very soon, Zikuei said coldly. The Dragon-Killing Island Lord looked over. You want to deal with the Elemental Business Alliance? Zikuei said disdainfully. If not for the military and the true martial dojo, dealing with the Elemental Business Alliance would be easy. With that, Zikuei's eyes flashed with murderous intent. In this battle, Yi Fan and Han Fei killed dozens of barbaric barbarians on Dragon-Killing Island. If I don't avenge them, I'll lose face. The Dragon-Killing Island Lord frowned. Don't go too far. The true martial emperor won't sit by and do nothing. We can only slowly nibble away at the Elemental Business Alliance in secret. Zikuei sneered. There's no need to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. Why do we need to do it ourselves to deal with the Elemental Business Alliance? Oh! Elemental Business Alliance S-level meeting. The leaders of the 2 Merchant Alliance and the 6 Merchant Alliance gathered, their expressions extremely solemn. Everyone, what should we do? Su Ku frowned. The Brahmin sect gave us 3 days to inform Manla to appear. Otherwise, we'll have to hand over Lin Feng. Jiang Wufeng shook his head and sighed. This matter has probably been exposed. Bastard. Yan Qing was fuming. Everyone sighed. They didn't need to guess to know the cause and effect. Gu Yong, Ma Ho, and Wan Ningshi were the 3 alliance masters. One of them must be a traitor. It's useless to pursue this matter. Ding Yining was as capable as ever. It's hard to fool them. Get ready to fight. What are you afraid of? Yi Fan bumped his fist. It's just the 8 guardians. Fight! The scar on Han Fei's left eye moved. Everyone nodded, eager to fight. The Elemental Business Alliance was no longer a pushover. Speaking of which, where did Lin Feng go? Xia Rufeng was very worried. Everyone looked at each other but couldn't find an answer. Lava furnace. Lin Feng's face was red and his body was soaked in sweat. He clenched his teeth and absorbed the power of fire crazily. Now, his body was filled with surging fire energy, which had already surpassed the insignificant power of thunder and lightning. His resistance to fire had indeed increased a lot, but the level of the 9 Serenity Thunderblades lightning, the difference was more than 100,000 miles. I can definitely do it. There's always a way out. Lin Feng was working hard with all his might. His body was already overloaded, and he was absorbing spiritual energy to the limit. He couldn't care about anything else. The situation of the bubble was getting worse and worse. Not to mention 7 days, he would probably be buried in the lava in 3 days at most. But he wouldn't give up until the last moment. 1 day. 2 days. Time passed slowly. Lin Feng was already at the end of his rope, but he still persisted with tenacious perseverance. His face wasn't pale but completely pale. His body was severely dehydrated, and his spiritual energy was almost exhausted. Compared to the lava, the power of fire in his body was insignificant. He was in a hopeless situation, not to mention that his body couldn't last another day, even if he had 7 more days. Similarly, only death awaited him. The difference was too great. Chapter 224. What a tenacious boy! There was a hint of admiration in Xiang Yu's eyes. Although he and Lin Feng had very different personalities, he was still very satisfied with some things in Lin Feng's bones: perseverance, unyielding, and a strong desire to challenge. Although his flame aptitude is indeed poor, but his thunder aptitude is not bad, at least much better than Xiang Wuhan. If Xiang Wuhan had half of his strength that day, I would not have been suppressed here. Unfortunately, he is not a descendant of the Xiang family. Xiang Yu was not a soft-hearted person. He and Lin Feng were just strangers who met by chance. It was good enough that he gave Lin Feng a chance. If you are unlucky, then your life will end here. Xiang Yu looked at Lin Feng. He admired the tenacity and determination in his bones. But that was all. Would a miracle happen? The answer was obviously no. With Xiang Yu's strength and vision, his words came true. He concluded that Lin Feng could not cultivate the flame holy qi in such a short time. Then, Lin Feng could not cultivate it. After all, Lin Feng's flame aptitude was only above average. At this time, Lin Feng was like a man who was desperately fighting against fate. His face was twisted, and his eyes were full of determination. Even if his eyelashes were burning, even if he knew that there was a cliff and a dead end ahead, Lin Feng was still trying. This was a road of no return, but at the same time it was also a road of no return. Even if he could not see the road ahead, he had to grit his teeth and walk on. Definitely. There will be a chance. Hold on a little longer. Lin Feng was now only holding on with his willpower. The energy of the bubble was already weak. The magma flames pounced on Lin Feng like evil spirits, penetrating the bubble and swallowing him. Sweat poured down like rain. Lin Feng's body was extremely weak, and dehydration was even more serious. If he was not a Sea King level expert, he would have died many times over. Even so, he was still at death's door. His body, tempered by the power of flame, it had improved a lot, and the power of flame could surge out of his cells. However, it was too small. In this magma, Lin Feng was nothing. Despair and fear should have shrouded Lin Feng's body, but he still persisted in his cultivation. The 5th layer of the 9 Dragons scripture and the 3rd layer of the Ruthless Spectrum were continuously cultivated, even if the chances were only 1 in 10,000 or even 1 in 100 million. Lin Feng was unwilling to give up. It was not the end yet. His teeth were clenched so hard that they were broken. He bit the tip of his tongue, and fresh blood flowed into his mouth, bringing Lin Feng's madness. Spiritual energy surged madly into his body. Spiritual energy was used to protect his body. Time and time again, the innate soul in his mind was operating at its limit. Wisps of energy were slowly absorbed. It was very subtle. It was very weak, as transparent as spiritual energy. It could not be seen or touched. But it truly existed. Ha! Lin Feng's eyes were wide open and bloodshot. The unyielding spirit in his heart had supported him until now, even if it was an effort that did not bear fruit. There would be gains. Boom! Lin Feng's head exploded. Exhausted, broken body. In an instant, a cold aura penetrated his body. It came from his mind, fell from his body, and spread throughout his body. It was as if he was constantly touching the limit, bombarding the limit, and finally breaking through that limit. All the fatigue disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng's eyes widened. His sea of consciousness was clear, and his head seemed to have opened a pair of eyes. Roar! It was like thunder in his ears, causing his heart to tremble. But it was like an illusion, like he was in a dream. It was a golden dragon, a huge monster close by. It had 2 horns, long whiskers, and golden scales all over its body. Noble, domineering, and intimidating. The golden dragon's body soared into the sky. It was high above. True dragon saint power. Xiang Yu's eyes were wide open, and he was a little stunned. He looked down in a daze. The golden figure in the red magma was covered in a layer of faint golden light, and a golden dragon appeared behind him. Xiang Yu's face was shocked, and there was a hint of joy that was difficult to detect. It was unintentional. Xiang Yu sighed. His original intention was to let Lin Feng obtain the flame Saint Qi, and entering the magma was undoubtedly the best way to cultivate. However, Lin Feng's talent was not high. Xiang Yu had given up, but he did not expect Lin Feng to awaken the true dragon saint power in the end. I forgot about it. The underground magma is suppressed by the dragon vein. With the talent soul, I can indeed absorb the true dragon saint power, but, compared to the flame saint power, it is less than 1/10,000th. It was a simple example. 1 cubic meter of magma had 10,000 points of flame saint power, but there might not be any true dragon saint power. It was like the difference between level spiritual power liquid and ordinary gene liquid. The descendant of the dragon. This kid, what a terrifying true dragon saint power, Xiang Yu smiled, which was rare. Is this a dream? Or am I already dead? Lin Feng was a little stunned at this moment. He could not see the vivid golden dragon at his chest, sparkling with golden light. At this moment, he could no longer feel any heat. Powerful energy flowed through his body, healing his body. His mind was madly absorbing the talent soul. It kept expanding. The talent soul, which was much weaker than the soul of earth, had almost doubled in size. His spiritual power kept increasing. His mind expanse was also opening up inch by inch. Roar. There was another dragon roar. Lin Feng was enlightened and he woke up. The bubble's energy had weakened a lot. Lin Feng used his spiritual power to protect his body. Suddenly, a powerful force came from above. In an instant, Lin Feng's body became light, and the scene in front of him changed. Hua! He broke free from the magma. Another moment. Pa! Lin Feng's body became heavy, and the familiar pressure came back again. The familiar prison, the familiar invisible force shield, and the familiar fantasy crystal. Finally, I'm back. Lin Feng let out a long sigh of relief. It felt like a lifetime ago. The 7 days in the magma were like hell. His heart was suspended in the air at every moment, and his body was squeezed to the limit. Just now, it wasn't a dream. Lin Feng thought. There was a layer of faint golden energy outside his body. It was abnormally powerful. At this moment, he did not need to concentrate. He could see clearly in his sea of consciousness. His talent soul had doubled in size, and his spiritual power was abundant. There seemed to be a golden dragon circling around, protecting him like a guardian. Lin Feng's heart was beating fast. What are you waiting for? A deep voice resounded. Lin Feng was shocked. In an instant, he revealed a knowing smile. Lin Feng nodded. Thank you, Senior. He sat cross-legged and started cultivating again. His body was indeed weak and tired. However, he did not slack off. The more tired he was, the greater the improvement. As soon as he started cultivating, Lin Feng felt the changes in his body. He absorbed spiritual power at an incomparably fast speed. His talent soul absorbed spiritual power at an astonishing speed, as though it was eating the 5 colors Lingji. His Heart Sutra was not comparable to the 9 Dragons scripture. His stage was also inferior to the Soul of Earth. However, it was completely superior. So powerful! Lin Feng was shocked. Chapter 225. Surprises came one after another. Whoosh! As soon as the 9 Dragons scripture was displayed, Lin Feng noticed the difference. It was more vivid and clear, like a painting. What he saw before was the whole picture, but now there was a layer of charm in it. A golden dragon, Lin Feng said in his heart. It was as if a dragon lived in his body. The 5 dragons were exceptionally clear when the 9 Dragons scripture was displayed, and he felt as if they were connected by blood. The absorption speed instantly increased, and the speed of spiritual energy absorption and release more than doubled. Lin Feng was surprised and delighted. The quality did not improve, but the efficiency was completely different. It has improved by about 150%. Lin Feng instantly judged. The absorption speed could be increased by 1.5 times. Not only that, the release of spiritual energy could also be increased by 1.5 times, which was very important. For example, in the same second, the spiritual energy that could be gathered before was now 50 points. Although it was not a direct increase in attack power, it was still a great increase. The 5th level of the 9 Dragons scripture was originally about the 5th grade of the heaven rank. After the upgrade, it is equivalent to the 3rd grade of the heaven rank. If it is the 6th level of the 9 Dragons scripture, the power after the upgrade will reach the 1st grade of the heaven rank. Thinking of this, Lin Feng was overjoyed. Although the spirit of the earth did not directly increase by more than 10 times like the spirit of the flame, the effect was equally amazing. Not to mention the tyrannical energy brought by the golden dragon, which was now baptizing his body, like the tempering of the power of fire, but there was no pain. Lin Feng was very comfortable with the burst of coolness that entered his heart. Good comes after bad. Lin Feng smiled. Whoosh! Xiang Yu's figure flashed. Looking at Lin Feng's cultivation, the 5 dragons behind him roared, and the golden light was faintly visible. The 9 Dragons scripture. Boy, your luck is good. It seems that some things are destined. With a soft sigh, Xiang Yu disappeared. After Manla's death, the Elemental Commerce Alliance had a smooth sailing. They rose step by step, but what should be paid must be paid. There was no impenetrable wall in the world, and Manla's death could not be hidden. Start the battle. As the most powerful force in India, the Brahmin sect had the highest bloodline in India. Not to mention the Brahmin sect leader, just the 8 guardian Dharma kings under him were enough to sweep through the entire India. The reason why the Elemental Commerce Alliance's influence spread throughout India was because of the Brahmin sect's support. It was mutually beneficial. This was a powerful force that even the dragon-killing island was afraid of. It could be said that he was the representative of the Brahmin sect. It was the entire ancient country of Tianzhu. Elemental City. How is Yi Fan? Su Ku frowned. His injuries are not light. Han Fei's face was rather pale, but his eyes were filled with battle intent. However, the 4 guardian kings who came to attack us weren't any better. The weakest one of them was even killed by the 2 of us. Gu Demo and Yan Qing looked at each other and sighed. This time the grudge was really big. The Business Alliance's foundation in Tianzhu. What a pity, Ding Yining said indifferently. It was impossible to tell what she was thinking from her expression. There are gains and losses. Jiang Wufeng snorted. Without our financial resources, Tianzhu will also suffer heavy losses. Its economy will collapse in a short time. Everyone will die together. We'll die together. Island Master Jiang, you're wrong. Ding Yining said. The Business Alliance's main foundation is in ancient Huaxia. Losing some money is nothing. Everyone laughed when they heard that. Indeed, money was not that important to the Elemental Commerce Alliance. Strength was more important. I'm just afraid that they'll be angry. They'll come to ancient Huaxia for revenge. Su Ku's eyes were still filled with worry. The Brahmin sect worships Lord Shiva. They're blockheads and completely unreasonable. They often do things that harm others without benefiting themselves. Manjala seems to be very important to the Brahmin sect, Xia Rufeng murmured. Meenakshi Temple, Ancient Tianzhu. This was the largest temple in ancient Tianzhu. The Brahmin sect's sacred leader and guardian kings lived there. All believers would kneel and worship them. Inside the temple, there was a monk in a monk's robe. His face was as pale as a skeleton. It was impossible to tell his age. His eyes were slightly closed as he sat cross-legged, exuding a shocking amount of energy. He was the god of ancient Tianzhu. He was ranked 6th in the world, Brahmin Fantua. There was a faint charm in the air. A dozen saintesses knelt beside Brahmin Fantua. They had beautiful faces and voluptuous figures. They were very pious. To be able to serve their god was the glory of a lifetime for them. Father. A strong man came up. His dark muscles were full of explosive power. He was a high-level Sea King expert, Brahmin Fanfei. He was the leader of the 8 guardian kings. In ancient Tianzhu, his strength was second only to his father. You want to ask about the battle with the Elemental Commerce Alliance? Fantua asked indifferently. Yes. Fanfei was not afraid of his father's majesty. Father, forgive me for being blunt. The battle with the Elemental Commerce Alliance was purely a battle of personal feelings. Both sides suffered. No one gained anything. Manjala has a high status in our sect, but we don't need to avenge him. We'll be a joke. Fantua opened his eyes. A glint flashed in his slightly old eyes. Fanfei, you're too young. Father, please enlighten me, Fanfei said. Fantua said slowly, Manjala is just a pawn. His death is insignificant, but it opened a door for our Brahmin sect. Fanfei frowned slightly and pondered for a while. Father, isn't this too risky? Fantua said indifferently, there's an old saying in ancient Huaxia. It's called, a just cause enjoys abundant support, while an unjust cause finds little support. We'll have friends who will help us. In the underground prison, Lin Feng's cultivation lasted for 2 days. Not only did all his tiredness disappear, but his strength also increased a lot. In particular, his talent soul had greatly improved. It directly jumped from the early part of the 4th stage to the later part of the 4th stage. He was not far from the 5th stage. His brain expanse was slowly approaching 50%. The most terrifying thing was his body. It was tempered by the power of flames and strengthened by the true dragon saint power. He had the physical quality of a legend expert before reaching the Sea King level. Absolutely terrifying. If I had such a body and strength back then, I wouldn't have been seriously injured by the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. Lin Feng's heart was calm. His cultivation had almost come to an end. His body had almost recovered from the strengthening. He cultivated desperately in the magma for 7 days and came out for another 2 days to consolidate his cultivation. Although his body and spirit had recovered, he was thirsty and hungry. It was not a good feeling. Moreover, he had many questions in his heart. Passing the test this time meant he could get the help of the overlord Xiang Yu. Whoosh, the faint golden light disappeared. Lin Feng got up and looked at the fantasy crystal. He said respectfully, Senior. As soon as his voice fell, in an instant. Boom! Lin Feng's eyes widened. A majestic and boundless force, mixed with thunder and lightning, attacked him as if tearing the world apart. Chapter 226. Purple Lightning 9 Sabers. First strike, Spring Thunderstorm. Wearing purple crystal armor, a purple ribbon with auspicious clouds around his waist, and battle star boots, wasn't this the overlord Xiang Yu? The 9 nether lightning saber caused the spring thunder to roar, filling the sky with electricity. A purple lightning energy shot out, extremely ferocious. It was a simple, quick, clean and neat slash. Chi. The explosive power was shocking, deeply imprinted in his mind. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide, not moving at all. His heartbeat seemed to have stopped. Only this mighty saber remained in his eyes, overbearing and domineering. It looked similar to what the 9 underworld thunder saber used, but it was actually different. It was more precise, but more casual and domineering. The saber fell as the heart willed it. Boom. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide. This saber kept appearing in front of his eyes. Boundless domineering, vast saber intent, and purple lightning roared. Although it was just the first strike, it completely defeated the blazing saber. This was a real saber. Compared to this spring thunderstorm, the flaming blade of the earth rank first grade was like a street trick. The saber in his mind could not be erased, and it was incomparably deep in his heart. It kept repeating, like a teacher tirelessly teaching him. Form and intent, perfect. Using the domineering as a saber. Form and intent, perfect combination. Although it is simple, its power, it surpasses a normal heaven-grade saber technique. Clang. The tiger roar saber was unsheathed. How could he miss such a good opportunity to comprehend? Lin Feng naturally understood the overlord Xiang Yu's intentions. Strength. Only with enough strength could one leave this place. The first day was the most profound. The second day, the saber in his mind had already started to blur. The third day, it became fainter and fainter. However, it was enough for Lin Feng. He had already grasped the surface of this spring thunderstorm, and the 3 days of practice were like the overlord Xiang Yu's teachings. Especially on the first day, it was like a hands-on teaching. On the second day, Lin Feng comprehended the spring thunderstorm to mastery. Hua! In his mind, the saber dissipated like smoke. Lin Feng stopped and opened his eyes. A smile appeared on his face. Even though it was only the first strike, the power of the expert-level attack was already several times greater than that of the flaming blade. "Thank you, Senior," Lin Feng said. But in a flash, boom! His head shook, and the tyrannical power attacked again. Thunder and lightning crisscrossed, and purple light filled the sky. This time, Lin Feng understood clearly and couldn't help but smile bitterly. The overlord, Xiang Yu, was very straightforward. The second strike, heavenly spinning thunder. Xiang Yu's voice was deep and domineering. The second attack was much more complicated than the first. The power of the whirlpool formed by the purple lightning was not as strong as the first attack. However, it focused on deflecting the power of the attack. When the opponent's attack fell into the purple lightning whirlpool, it was hard to see its power. The second strike. It was a defensive saber. Good! Lin Feng was secretly delighted. Xiang Yu, the overlord, was a heroic figure. To be able to gain his respect and pass on the Thunder Blade absolute art to him. This could be said to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even the Xiang family of West Chu did not leave behind the Thunder Blade 9 strike. Xiang Yu had always done things his own way. Such a domineering person did not want to accept disciples. Although the shape of the saber was complicated, the saber intent was similar. One attack and one defense. The first and second strikes complemented each other, and the cooperation was exquisite. Also 3 days. First day, first glimpse. Second day, more proficient. Third day, reached mastery. Although it was a little slower than the first strike, he finally reached mastery before the second strike disappeared in his mind. Third strike. Thunder Hell. A group attack saber move, the saber energy filled the sky. Compared to Blade Mountain Flame Sea, it was 10 times more powerful. There was no gap. Combined with the super heavy titanium domain, the power was endless. Fourth strike, Thunderbolt of Winter. It was accompanied by a sound attack. The Thunderbolt of Winter roared, and the sound attack was all-pervasive. If he encountered an enemy with strong defense, this attack was definitely the best choice to break the defense. Lin Feng learned the saber on the 10th day. Xiang Yu stood tall as he looked at Lin Feng's figure. There was a hint of satisfaction in his calm expression. This kid's fire talent is bad, and his lightning talent is mediocre. At least there is something good about him. Teaching him the saber technique is not a disgrace to the name of Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu was arrogant. Instead of letting some mediocre person practice his purple thunder saber technique, He would rather take the saber technique to the grave. He was a domineering and arrogant person, and he did not care about what the future generations said about him. Unfortunately, the remaining 9 bolts of purple lightning from the 9 Serenity Thunder Saber have already dissipated. The power of the purple Thunder Saber technique will be greatly reduced. Xiang Yu raised his head and his eyes shone. There is not much time left. The soft murmur slowly disappeared along with Xiang Yu's figure. Saber technique level 6. Lin Feng was already at the peak of level 5. Under Xiang Yu's guidance, he had just comprehended the secrets of the saber. Naturally, his speed of improvement was fast. The originally difficult 4th strike, Thunderbolt of Winter, was instantly understood. The improvement of the saber technique had a decisive effect on the comprehension of saber move. Savage level saber technique level 6. In the 5,000 years of history of ancient Huaxia, although he was not as strong as Xiang Yu and Fu Hongxue, Lin Feng's name was enough to go down in history. The most important thing was, Lin Feng was only 19 years old. In terms of age, he was already comparable to Fu Hongxue and Guan Yu, who were experts in saber technique. After 12 days of saber practice, Lin Feng still wanted more. However, the overlord Xiang Yu did not continue to teach. He, who had been flickering in and out of existence, finally showed himself. "Senior, I will never forget your kindness in teaching me." Lin Feng bowed his head and said respectfully. "All right, stop being so wishy-washy." Xiang Yu interrupted him. "Your other talents are a mess, but your comprehension of the saber is okay. You and I are fated to meet, so I will teach you the first 4 strikes of the 9 Thunder Saber Strike." After a slight pause, Xiang Yu said in a low voice, "Since you have the true Dragon Saint power, you should not develop your saber path." Frowning, Xiang Yu was helpless. Lin Feng pondered Xiang Yu's words, and his eyes lit up. "Senior, the true Dragon Saint power you mentioned, could it be the golden dragon in my mind?" Xiang Yu nodded. "That day when you entered the lava. Although you did not get the Flame Saint Qi, you were lucky. This is the Qinling Mountains, the land of the Dragon Vein. The true Dragon Saint power is hidden underground, and you accidentally got the true Dragon Saint power. It is even better than the Flame Saint Qi." Lin Feng understood. The Qinling Dragon Vein had been around for a long time. With the help of the true Dragon Saint power, you should focus on cultivating the talent, soul, and spiritual power. Unfortunately, I do not have such a method. Xiang Yu looked at him. "Since you have passed the test, I will keep my promise. Moreover, you are good at saber techniques, so I can save you the trouble." Lin Feng smiled. Xiang Yu, the overlord, was an honest man. "May I ask, Senior, where exactly is this place?" Lin Feng looked around the surroundings, and his curiosity wasn't something that had only existed for a day or two. This was a strange, independent underground space. The 9 nebula chains of different colors seemed to lead to an endless abyss. There was also the strange and terrifying psychedelic crystal and the strange magnetic 8 trigrams. Chapter 227. Xiang Yu's eyes were cold. "This is my grave." His voice sounded tired. Lin Feng looked at this peerless hero and sighed in his heart. Anyone who had been trapped here for more than 2,000 years would have gone crazy. However, Xiang Yu the Conqueror was determined and never gave up leaving. His persistence was admirable. "Senior, why is your soul immortal?" Lin Feng asked curiously and pointed to the fantasy crystal. "Is it because of this crystal?" Xiang Yu was stunned. He suddenly laughed, and there was a hint of vicissitudes in his smile. "My soul is immortal because I was born with a lightning physique. I obtained the 9 heavens thunderblade by chance and absorbed the power of purple thunder. I condensed the purple thunder holy aura to protect my soul. What does this have to do with this holy crystal? On the contrary, the reason why I'm trapped here is because of it," Xiang Yu said, gritting his teeth. "Born with a lightning physique? 9 heavens thunderblade? Purple thunder holy aura? and holy crystal? Lin Feng was confused. After carefully pondering the meaning of Xiang Yu's words, he understood and nodded. Huang Fuji, that old bastard, would rather die than forget to set up this damned soul-locking formation to immobilize me. Xiang Yu the Conqueror's eyes were cold. If Xiang Wuhan could withstand the purple thunder holy aura, I would not have been defeated by this old bastard. Huang Fuji? Lin Feng was puzzled. Didn't Xiang Yu the Conqueror commit suicide in the Wu River? Who is Xiang Wuhan? Lin Feng was puzzled. Don't mention that trash. Xiang Yu the Conqueror snorted. That day, I was young and arrogant and thought I was invincible. However, I did not expect to be defeated and commit suicide in the Wu River. Fortunately, the purple thunder holy aura protected my soul. After hundreds of years of nourishment, I recovered my vitality and wanted to resume my hegemony. Unfortunately, the talents of the descendants of the Xiang family were worse than the previous. Unfortunately, the most outstanding genius of the Xiang family, Xiang Wuhan, took their souls. Xiang Yu recalled the past and spoke frankly. Lin Feng listened attentively. This was the current Xiang family of West Chu. The strongest of them would only be at the Sea King realm. The overlord Xiang Yu was born with the lightning centipede physique. He had also absorbed the power of purple lightning and condensed the purple lightning sacred qi. This kind of talent was rarely seen in 1,000 years. Naturally, he would not be interested in other so-called geniuses. That old bastard Huang Fuji is really weird. No one has ever been able to reach the 9th level of the Book of the Chaos. But he has even mastered the 10th level, Profound Universe. The 9 purple thunderbolt strikes are not inferior to it, but Xiang Wuhan's aptitude is too poor to bear the power of the purple thunderbolts. In the end, he died and was locked here by that old bastard. Xiang Yu was indignant and unwilling to accept his defeat. Lin Feng nodded. He had heard of the Book of the Chaos before. It was one of the Super Heaven Tier Heart Sutras. However, it was true that no one had ever managed to reach the 9th level or above. To even reach the 10th level. Naturally, its power was unimaginable. Being imprisoned here, being in contact with the Saint Crystal every day, slowly. I just discovered a little secret. Xiang Yu's eyes were bright and his voice was firm. I'm afraid this old bastard is not from this world. Lin Feng was stunned. What does that mean? The Saint Crystal is a world of its own. There are many strange words and images. Even the Saint Crystal material is unheard of. Xiang Yu's eyes were bright. Unlike the previous owners of the Saint Crystal, that old bastard Huang Fuji can not only use the Saint Crystal as a weapon, but also set up such a Saint Crystal formation. Xiang Yu pointed around. Those 9 chains. Each of them is connected to a piece of Saint Crystal, which contains powerful energy. The power of the 10 pieces of Saint Crystal condensed into one and locked my soul here. Just one piece of Saint Crystal, Xiang Yu smiled disdainfully. Lin Feng looked over. At this time, the Saint Crystal under Xiang Yu's body was dim. Obviously, its power was suppressed. Suppressed the power of the Saint Crystal? Lin Feng was shocked. Xiang Yu was extremely powerful. Actually, it's not just this old bastard, Xiang Yu said again. It's this 9 Serenity Thunderblade. It contains powerful purple thunderbolt. Even the 7 purple thunderbolts strike in the Thunderblade. Xiang Yu looked at Lin Feng. Seeing the confusion in his eyes, Xiang Yu said, The last 2 strikes were created by me. All of the blade moves explode with purple thunderbolt. Without the purple thunderbolt Saint Qi, the power of the blade moves would be worlds apart. Including the 9 dragons scripture that you practice. Let me ask you, did any of the ancestors of the Ji family cultivate to the 9th level? If not, where did the 9th level of the 9 dragons scripture come from? Lin Feng nodded. What Xiang Yu said was not without reason. He did not know other things, but he had asked his mother about the 9 dragons scripture. She did not even have anyone who cultivated to the 8th level, let alone the ninth. In the history of the Ji family, less than one hand had cultivated to the 6th level. There was only one person who had cultivated to the 7th level. So, senior, you mean? Lin Feng's eyes flashed. In his heart, he vaguely understood. In the distant starry sky, I'm afraid someone has been watching us. Xiang Yu looked up. They are far more powerful than us and treat us like ants. They might even be able to come here through some unknown method. Lin Feng's heart beat faster. For example, Qiyu and Fuxi in the ancient era. According to records, they look very different from humans. Even Huang Fuji, who was skinny and had a strange head, was different from a normal human. Aliens. Lin Feng thought in his heart and did not interrupt. Although I don't know what their purpose is, they don't appear often. Xiang Yu frowned and suddenly paused. He sighed and said, the real trouble is the meteorites. They appeared 100 years ago and soon, they will appear again. Meteorites falling again? Lin Feng took a deep breath and said in surprise, Senior, how do you know? Xiang Yu did not answer. He continued, this time, what awaits the human race is complete annihilation. Xiang Yu's voice was low, weathered and weak. He said softly, and this is also the reason why I let the 9 Serenity Thunder Blade appear. Lin Feng was deeply shocked. What Xiang Yu said was simply too shocking. The great annihilation was coming again? Boy! Xiang Yu suddenly shouted. I'm here. Lin Feng replied. Xiang Yu stared at Lin Feng and said coldly, let me ask you. If the heavens want you dead, what will you do? Lin Feng did not hesitate. I will fight the heavens. I don't believe in fate. I only believe in being strong enough, even if it's just a body of flesh and blood. I can still defeat the heavens. Ha ha, ha. Xiang Yu laughed heartily. His laughter was unrestrained and unrestrained. I will fight the heavens, he said arrogantly. You have some of my domineering spirit. A man should be like that. From today onwards, learn martial arts from me. Lin Feng's eyes widened. He was so happy that he wanted to kneel down. Greetings, master. However, an invisible force stopped him, and he could not move. Xiang Yu's eyes lit up. I, Xiang Yu, have never accepted disciples. Today, you and I are fated to meet. I am just keeping my promise. I will help you improve your strength and leave this place. Go out and have a good fight with the heavens. Lin Feng's heart pounded. He did not care about the status and quickly cupped his hand. Thank you, senior.